Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Computer Game Show. My name's David Turner. I'm here with James Farley.
Hello.
And the main one, Matt Murray.
Hello. I mean, I don't really want to get into it straight away, but is it really the Computer Game Show or is it a Spoilercast from TCGS?
It's the Computer Game Show Spoilercast by TCGS, I think.
Fine.
I don't know, Matt. What do you think it is?
What have you done for the branding, Matt, already?
I mean, I didn't mention Computer Game Show in like the art and stuff. I just put
Why
TCGS because I don't know. Let's move on.
The Computer Game Show's the podcast, right?
Yeah. But this isn't a podcast. This is a podcast. It doesn't matter. This is a bad time.
But I thought the podcast was TCGS.
James.
No, the podcast is the computer.
Right.
If you've just found us by looking for Last of Us 2 Spoilercast, hello. We are a regular podcast. I don't really know how to describe what we're called anymore because Matt's confused things
the
recently.
regular podcast is called the Computer Game Show from TCG. Let's move on.
So you can check us out. Search for us, the Computer Game Show, on your regular podcast players, or you can go to tcgs.co to find out more about us. We're a regular weekly gaming podcast. Give us a listen there. But today we're here to talk The Last of Us 2, and I think this is interesting, right? We've done Spoilercast before, and what we tend to do is go through the game bit by bit. We all take notes and we go through it bit by bit. But the problem is, maybe you did, Matt, but I certainly didn't think we'd be doing a Spoilercast on this one.
I guess beforehand, no. But, I mean, after a few hours...
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, hang on, there's so much to discuss here. But no, I didn't anticipate... Oh, yeah, there'll definitely be a Spoilercast for this.
Well, the problem is that, you know, we've been part of our main show is us talking about what we've been playing and going into detail over new games and talking about basically reviewing them. But it's been practically impossible to talk about what this game does so well without giving away huge spoilers to the game. So we found it so hard to talk about. I mean, yeah, you could talk about the combat, you could talk about the settings, you could talk about, you know, bits and pieces like that, the graphics, but actually getting into why this game is so good, and I think we should say up front that we all absolutely love it. If you were hoping, you know, if you'd logged onto this podcast hoping that they were, oh yeah, I can't wait to hear some people slate it, it's not going to happen. This is pretty much going to be universal praise.
This is a loving.
Yeah. You know, it's been so hard to go into why we love this game so much without going into major plot areas. So, you know, obviously we want to avoid all that. So here we are. We're free. If you've not played the game, I strongly suggest that you go and play the game because we're not going through beat by beat. You might miss what's going on. You need some sort of context to be able to listen to this show, I think. And ultimately, the story is absolutely fantastic, and you should absolutely experience it yourself. But yeah, we're free, man.
I know.
We're totally free.
It feels good, and it's also going to feel weird that we can say anything. We can.
Joel's dead.
Oh, Jay said it. Joel's dead.
Straight in. He's so dead, isn't he? Oh, golf club. Right. Okay. So. I've written down 4 acts. I feel it's 4 acts. I think I've split these up quite well.
Yeah,
stop me if I'm wrong.
These notes are perfect.
They're pretty detailed, yeah, apart from the bit where you got confused earlier. But it's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you could bring that up at a time. I don't mind. But yeah, so let's start with Act 1, where it all starts, and that's Jackson then. Jackson! I mean, we had no idea Jackson existed at the end of The Last of Us Part 1, did we? But here we are. We're in what looks like a lovely little community with some slightly dark undertones. But, you know, ultimately, it's about as good as it's going to get in their current situation.
Yeah, I heard
right?
someone on another podcast refer to this as like post-apocalypse. Like, this isn't just like the end of the world. Like, they're actually
rebuilding.
Yeah, you can see that this would be how it could be once you got everything back on its feet, which I think is, you know, I haven't really thought of it like that. But yeah, it's like a lovely little community. They've got their own lives, and
Incredible. I wouldn't say incredible. Incredibly depressing to find out that yes, even when you are rebuilding, when humanity has practically been wiped out, there's still bigots. There's still bigots about. So that was a bit sad, but a nice introduction, really, wasn't it? It was just waking up in the morning. I mean, was that the very first scene? The very first scene was actually Joel playing a song to Ellie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, I had a couple of problems with. I'm not a massive fan of the song they chose as the sort of the thread that, or the touchstone for their relationship, to be quite honest with you. I know, James, you disagree with me on that.
The thing is, right, I strongly dislike the song. I think the song is really bad. I didn't like that at all.
Isn't it Pearl Jam?
I don't know, is it? I have no idea.
No, it's a famous song.
Is it a famous song?
I know it's a famous song, yeah, but I don't know who sung it.
Yeah, I was not a fan of the song at all, but
Look it up, Matt.
But I still feel that the way it was done was really good, like right at the start.
I don't agree.
No, it was because the whole point of this was that it's pretty clear that the relationship between them is really strained. And then he comes up and does that, and it's just really embarrassing because you can tell that he's like trying to play this heartfelt song to try and reconnect with her, and she's like, yeah, sure, yeah, you can go now, and all that. And it was really uncomfortable.
But it was
and I think that was perfect.
Much, though. Even Joel would know that you can't bust into a girl's room and go, if I ever lost you.
No, he's just trying. He's trying too hard because it had all gone wrong. That's what that was about.
Yeah, I know, but that's like real sort of. I mean, come on. Like, even if you're I wouldn't even class Joel as simple. He's always been played as relatively switched on. He must have looked at the lyrics and gone, no, it was a bit much. It's probably a bit much. I'll choose a different song.
Rubbish. It was desperation at that point to try and reconnect. That's what that was all about, and it was badly misjudged on his part, and you could tell it was.
Which I think perfectly set up. Yeah, but by the way, this is a Pearl Jam song. Have you guys heard about how the whole thing sort of came together with a song?
No.
Go on.
Yeah, so they, I think Jeff Keighley organised.
I knew he'd be involved somewhere.
It's always Jeff Keighley.
In main one part, but basically they did The Last of Us One Night Live is like a live sort of stage production where they read out sort of key scenes and stuff. And I think it was Jeff Keighley. Said to Neil Druckmann.
Did Keighley come in? Did Keighley tell the story about how he sung that song to Kojima?
Yeah, he's like, I love the work.
If I was to lose you.
Yeah. He's like, Neil, I love the work Troy Baker and stuff's done, but I've got a better voice highs. Hideo Kojima, everyone. Does a great Ellie. So him and Neil Druckmann were talking about this thing, and Neil Druckmann said, well, this is a good opportunity to potentially do something a bit new, like a scene that people haven't seen before, and there were rules about people couldn't video it and this, that and the other. And so basically he wrote this scene where Joel would sing the song to Ellie, and apparently and this was obviously many years ago, before he said they'd even really started planning The Last of Us Part 2, but once they did that song, I think Troy Baker or someone might have suggested that song, and straight after that he said, okay, this has to be the start of The Last of Us Part 2. I hadn't actually heard the song before, and yes, it is like cheesy and very much on the nose, but I think that also perfectly sets up sort of Joel kind of being like embarrassing dad, but trying to do something to...
trying to reconnect.
Do not agree.
Yeah,
do not agree. It was too much. It was too much.
I didn't think it was embarrassing at the time. I just thought...
Oh, I did. When he first started uttering those lyrics. Could you imagine if he come in and just went, we have faced some sort of zombies. You were a little girl and you were immune. Anyway, that's the very first cutscene of the game. Moving on. So we get to see a little bit of Jackson. And then what I like about this whole setup really is that not only does it look like, as you say, post-apocalyptic, it also feels like that as well, because in that short amount of time, you've seen like an apology from a barman that got drunk the night before. You've seen people in the street hanging out, just chatting. You see like people playing music in the street. You hear a lot of this sort of high school drama about how there's exes that are angry at each other, and now Ellie is interested in this ex, and there was a kiss last night that the whole town's talking about. So it kind of has that mood to it, doesn't it? That no one really feels in threat here, and and
yeah,
that's all
it
fine.
feels like a community just with those things they were saying. Like instantly, it's obviously got a small close knit community given what they've been through, but I think instantly it sets up really well about it being a community. Everyone sort of knows each other and so on and so forth. I mean, it's I haven't really ever thought myself. What would the world be like when people are rebuilding after something like this? But it's obviously
They'll be
very much like
singing
Dead.
to each other in very obvious ways. I think.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't
what
think that'd
we've
be the
discovered
thing. But it felt like sort of Red Dead 2 and kind of like a Western style town with like just the way they're walking through Jackson.
Yeah, for sure.
Guess makes sense.
Well, yeah, because there was
rebuild.
Yeah, I mean, it was very like the whole of the start of that was like really Red Dead 2, wasn't it? Especially with like the riding horses and all that kind of thing, and yeah.
There's a lot of that, yeah, for sure. So then you get into a snowball fight. Obviously, that's Naughty Dog have got an interesting way of doing tutorials these days, and I don't think this was quite as good as Uncharted 4's.
No, that was better. That was well good. That bit.
Yeah, in the loft. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think this
but I would like to go back and do that again because at the time I was just like, what am I doing here? I'm kind of throwing snowballs or whatever. But now I reckon I could absolutely cane them all.
Did you win? Did you win?
Yeah.
Because I did.
You must have won.
No, I think I lost.
Oh, what?
How?
Yeah, I absolutely killed this. I mean, I hit this kid really hard with snowballs.
Did I lose? I think I lost.
I
can't remember. It was ages ago. A lot's happened since then, James. I didn't really remember the snowball fight too much.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, I was really nervous because I'm like, hey, I was sort of, there's like a nervous excitement. One, because I'm finally playing this game that I've been so excited to play, but also
were you expecting a clicker to come down the slide and then eat all the kids?
I wasn't expecting that straight away, but it's like, you knew that was coming at some point, and it's like, hey, it's relaxing. Like,
what, a clicker coming down the slide?
I thought it was going to be a scene where like the snowball's thrown, and they're like, oh, I'll just go and get.
You were expecting casualty. You were expecting episode of casualty.
Like, and it seemed to go for ages before you saw the first infected, and I was like, oh god, I almost want to get out of the way because the nerves building up to that is too much.
It's funny, isn't it? I mean, we'll get to that, but it's funny how I went into this thinking, oh my god, yeah, it's a horror game, isn't it? But the first one wasn't. At no point during the first one did I feel it was horror. Here, I still don't think it went there. There were moments that were quite horrific, but I felt it was more of a thriller than a...
Well, it depends what you define by horror. Like, obviously we're going to talk about the boss in the basement at the hospital. Like, that when like Resident Evil, that was like...
Yeah, it's full-on Resident Evil.
Yeah,
not in a good way.
That was Resident Evil, so you would define that area as horror. I mean...
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, but, whatever. Okay, it's never been... The one thing that I found is that it with the zombies in particular, or the clickers, sorry.
No, I mean, they're not zombies, they're called infected, so...
Yeah. The infected, they've never been, like, horrific, have they, really?
No.
The clickers and stuff, you barely see their face. It actually looks like a little bit toned down, to be honest. But okay, fine, right, okay. Abby, Dina, and Jesse go off to find Joel and Tommy. So Joel and Tommy they're doing... What are they doing? They're just looking around the whole area, right?
Yeah, they're just patrolling around.
They haven't come back from their patrol.
And they haven't got back. So you head off to try and find them. This is when you first meet, it cuts, and you first meet Abby and Owen. And Abby and Owen are having a bit of a discussion about, Owen says that his girlfriend's pregnant. Abby's clearly upset about that because they used to have a relationship. But then the first surprise, you get to play as Abby.
I had no idea about that.
I would say that was a surprise, but then, thinking back to Last of Us 1, I didn't sit there and go, oh my god, I'm playing as another character, because you did that in the first one, really, didn't you? So
I guess.
Yeah, well, there was that whole section where you played as Ellie and stuff, so it didn't really blow me away. What about you guys?
Not at all. Yeah, I didn't assume at that point that this was going to be a character I was going to be playing as a lot. I just thought, okay, they're giving this over to me to show a different side. I thought it was just a small section.
But before we go any further, so we should probably talk about what spoilers we knew of going in. Like, Dave, you had heard.
Yeah, I was going to do that at the next point, but we can do that now. So, I had seen, I think it was someone's username on Twitter that said Joel dies.
That's the shittiest one.
Yeah. It was like Joel dies, but then to be fair, when I saw that, I thought, well, of course he does. But I suppose the saving grace is that I assumed he died at the end of the game, and when it happened this early, it was more of a surprise because I was like, oh fuck, all right, now he's dead. Okay,
that's good.
And what was great is that from then on, the rest of the game, it's like I didn't know anything. So I didn't know that you played as Abby. I didn't know that. Well, there's a bunch of other leaks. I'd love to know like a rundown of what actually leaked that weekend. Just to find out what went out. How about you, Matt? You didn't know anything, did you?
Yeah, I managed to avoid everything. Obviously, I heard of the leaks, and then I put like 1,000 words muted in on Twitter and stuff. And I got lucky and managed to avoid all of it, thankfully. So I didn't know there was an Abby. I didn't know I'd be playing as an Abby. I didn't know anything about what happened with Joel and Ellie and anything. So I went in totally and utterly blind.
How about you, James?
The same. I knew absolutely nothing at all. I didn't see any of the spoilers, any of the leaks. Although the bit that we're coming up to, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, because you could just feel it.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, so we're talking. This is the bit where it comes up to where they, where Abby and all that, meets up with Joel and Tommy.
Just a quick shout out for that excellent chase scene in the snow because what a way to sort of introduce the infected, really. It was fucking stunning. Like, you didn't have to stand and fight them. There was a short bit where you're in the area and I didn't like that bit where you're in the area with Joel and Tommy, and I think, is it Tommy?
What? Joel?
Oh my God. Joel's brother,
No.
Joel's brother.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So when you're in there with, like in a warehouse with Joel and Tommy, and you just, there's a moment where he gives you a gun and you just have to shoot everyone. I was like, oh, this is like Destiny. We're waiting for Ghost to sort something out.
Especially that massive bubble. It was a bit weird.
But other than that whole set piece was stunning. And then obviously you're leading up to the house, right, where you meet the rest of the team. I mean, there's no easy way of saying it. Joel gets his head smashed in.
See that, and that you see, as I said, I didn't know that Joel was going to die in the game, but as soon as like Abby, they kind of foreshadowed it anyway because they said they were looking for someone. Like they kept on saying they were looking for someone.
The moment Abby said he lives down there, I went to talk about Joel.
It has to be Joel.
That was the first thing I thought of.
There was that,
but I didn't know. I thought they might have escaped that, and then it was a battle for the rest of the game between these two groups. I didn't expect.
I had a strong feeling that they were going to do this because also like there was all those scenes where where Joel was with Joel and Tommy were with Abby, and like she kept on the way that she was looking at them as well all the time was like she couldn't believe her luck. Do you know what I mean? That she'd found them.
Yeah. But like there was always a chance they could have escaped.
No, because I thought going back to the house. I mean, I knew that this was also going to be a game about revenge, and so I was thinking this is obviously the perfect point at which that's got to happen, and then obviously it does.
Sounds like you knew quite a lot, James, actually.
So again,
this is also
sounds like you knew quite a lot about the game, actually.
Yeah, I know. This is all bullshit.
It's not. Oh, shut up.
So I mean, what I thought about the game, I thought it'd be a bit in a game. We sort of pretend you're going to the moon and you listen to a music tape.
I was just being observant. I'm just observant. That's all it is.
I just looked at Abby really and thought golf club. I don't know why.
She
looks like she could swing a golf club. Yeah.
I mean, just before we get to the actual sort of death, like I thought it was a bit weird. Like Tommy, they went to a house. I think Tommy and Joel would be a bit cleverer than just suddenly be them two with loads of strangers they don't know. I know they were like getting away from all the infected and stuff, but I don't know.
I don't know. I try not to think like that.
And there's a lot of them anyway.
Yeah, I mean, for starters, I could understand the argument that they've gone into this thing, but like without really sort of any sort of defense. But then it felt like you could say they've just saved her life and returned her to the group, thinking that they were instantly going to turn on him. He didn't know that they knew who he was. There's all sorts of ways around it. It didn't really bother me that at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably the opposite of what James is like. I never go into like what films or games or books or whatever saying trying to second guess the plot. I never do. Like the amount of times Jill and I are watching something on Netflix, they're like, well, that was obvious. I'm like, was it? I don't know. I'm just like gone along with the story. I haven't really been second guessing it. And so they went in there, and instantly when you saw all of them sort of surround him in a room, I was like, oh shit, hang on, this is going to be bad. This is going to be really bad. I hadn't considered it really until they all got in there. So like I had the same sort of realization.
Matt was like, they're probably fine. He shoots him. That was an accident.
Probably friends. Oh look, everyone loves golf. Oh, hang on, that went in his head.
But there was still part of me when he was getting beaten up before that final hit. There was still part of me who was thinking, how's he going to get out of this?
Well, I mean, so I didn't know that he was going to get killed. And when he got shot in the leg, I was like, holy shit. And I thought, okay, well...
That's a lot of limping animation.
Yeah, I was like, this is going to be a slow-ass game. There was a lot of hammering X. No, I just thought, hang on, like, okay, I'm sure that's probably it. And like, I instantly thought, okay, wow, he's going to spend the rest of the game with like half a leg? Like, what? I didn't think it would go further, that he would actually get killed at that point. So I was like... I was shocked when he got shot in the leg. And like, oh my God. But when he actually got killed, I was like, oh shit, hang on. It's like a double hit of a shock because I didn't think... I thought, wow, they've shocked players enough by basically saying he won't be in the game much or won't be as, as it did as much as the first game because he's basically got one leg. But I didn't think they'll go further and actually kill him off. That was a massive shock for me.
So I thought that scene was fantastic. I really did. I mean, it's pure Tarantino, and not for the reasons that a lot of people are using that comparison for. It's not so much the whole it's really bloody and she beats him to death with a golf club. It's more you watch what Ellie's doing throughout the whole thing, and the moment she sees that there's nothing left of Joel, she spends all her time just looking at the faces of the people in the room. It just felt, like Kill Bill, bit of Reservoir Dogs in there. Just everything just felt very Tarantino in there. It was really, really
I thought the
good.
whole scene was just perfectly done. It's so tense. Instantly I was like, oh God, it was just horrendous, but it said
walking up to that doorway,
so well.
Man, fucking hell. Although I did break it a little bit because I couldn't find the place to go to get down to the basement and get to Joel when when you're playing as Ellie just beforehand. So she had a nice little look around the house before she went downstairs to find him. But yeah, so that's the first big plot thing, right? That sets up the revenge story that you think you're about to embark on. What the game does later is pretty incredible, but that's the setup. And then when we go, where do we go from there? Well, Abby and Dina set off to get revenge. Tommy's already left. They have a bit of a chat with, one of the higher ups at Jackson and finally get permission to go. There was a nice moment there where it was clear that they were doing everything they can to keep Dina and Abby from going after these people. But
what was the woman they're speaking to who sort of turned up in the house? Because she knew. Is that Tommy's wife?
It's Tommy's wife. Yeah.
Yeah. But and she was just like, she didn't want them to go, but then realised that there's nothing she could do. They were going, and so she might as well help them. Just thought it was really nicely done scene because that could have been so spelt out, but it wasn't. It was just all done with, natural conversation.
Yeah,
right,
I think at this point already, like the relationship between Ellie and Dina was fantastic.
Yeah.
Already, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they kind of lose that a little bit along the way, but I think that's intentionally so. But the further we get into the plot, we'll get to that. So then we get to our first real gameplay area, right? We get to Seattle, and we get to... This is wonderful, this area, isn't it, James?
It is, and this is the only thing I was a little bit disappointed with in terms of the rest of the game, because they had this section which is like pretty almost like open world, like for quite a long time. Look, you're in this area for quite a while. There's quite a lot of areas to explore and sort of things to go in. And I thought, maybe this is how the game's going to be. Like, it's going to open up into like larger areas to explore and stuff. But then it does end up going, becoming significantly more linear. As the game goes on.
Which I'm fine with. I like the fact that they let you off the leash to really get your bearings. That was how you get your bearings in the game, isn't it?
and that's what it achieved, like absolutely, because you learn sort of how to use weapons and all that kind of thing, and also what to look for in an environment as well by just sort of exploring.
100%. That's exactly what it does. It forces you to explore a bit so that you can learn what to look for. The fact that if there's a broken window somewhere, you can climb through it. There's all that stuff it teaches you.
If you saw like a big like yellow like power cable, okay, I need to do this. Or if you see like a big bit of like cable or anything, okay, I can throw it over something. I can use that to to go down.
It's like the most minor physics puzzle I've ever seen in a game, isn't it? It uses that a few times, but it's kind of like that's it. You get to throw things over things and swing on it if you want to.
But also, it really teaches you like the sort of the risk reward like side of the game of like this. You know that going into certain buildings is going to cause probably problems, but there is often a payoff, even if it is was it worth wasting all those bullets to like get this or not. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it looks stunning, I think, like just being in this this sort of semi-open world area. I think it looked gorgeous.
Yeah, it really does. And it's you go around. It's all against infected, isn't it? You feel like you're one or two steps behind everyone else, behind Tommy and behind the wolves. Eventually, the wolves. Yeah. Do you discover that they're called the wolves in this area? You do, don't you? Before you actually meet them.
When you get to the hotel, is that the hotel?
I don't remember hotel. I remember you got the court, haven't you?
When you're going around that open area, you pick up notes and stuff where it's
that's right. You pick up notes. There's signs up everywhere and all that sort of stuff, isn't there?
The hotel's their base, wasn't it? Like it's a place. Okay, like that's where you need to go, but obviously you can discover other areas along the way.
That's where we're heading to.
Yeah.
I mean, when you first meet the wolves, wow, what an entrance that they make! It's unbelievable, really. I mean, for starters, it's like incredibly shocking. Like there's a huge jump scare because you're just jumping over a barrier that you jumped over a million times before, and it explodes this time.
Oh god, yeah. When you're on a horse,
and then they turn up, they batter the shit out of both of you, and they shoot your horse in the head. Dina gets away, doesn't she? She rolls off, and they chase after him. Ellie gets smashed over the head, and the horse gets shot. So it was kind of like, that was another thing. And there's a lot of surprises in this game, a lot of clear setups. And one of them was, you're going to spend a long time with this horse and it's probably going to die right at the end and you'll feel
that's the
bad.
thing, because they're kind of building up a kind of a Red Dead thing, like at the beginning, where he's got a name, you're going around with it, and then they off it like quite.
And they just off it straight away. It's like, come on, I'm still getting over Joel, and now I've got a horse to deal with. This is
and again, why was that horse destroyed with a golf club? Like, use a gun. Why is everyone using golf clubs to kill everything around here? That was a joke.
Okay. I thought you genuinely thought they'd offed it with a golf club then, Matt.
No, God. Jesus.
Right, okay. So then you wake up, you've been captured, essentially.
Well, literally.
By the wolves, and then Dina does probably the most badass thing she does throughout the whole game, right?
I mean, she does a few badass things, but I think that's...
Nothing beats jumping through the roof like that and saving you. That is pretty fucking good. So then you escape, and you've got to escape through the subway. And this is the first moment in the whole game where the tension got to me. Now, one thing that is evident throughout this whole game is how well it does tension. Like, it's so far ahead of other games that I've played that try and get you tense in combat or whatever. It's just fucking stuck. This whole area going into that subway, how dark it is, the red lights beaming
the
from
red
the
light
torches.
is really striking, isn't it?
Yeah, and hearing the noises as you get deeper into the subway is just like... my palms were sweating while I was playing this section of the game. And all I was thinking was, I just want to be outside.
Yeah, I just want to see daylight.
Yeah, totally. It's fucking superb part of the game. This
because there's
there's lots of tension in this game. Yeah, this is the bit I was like, how am am I going to be able to handle this?
Hang on, am I crying? I think I might be crying. Did I just poop in my pants? I think I might have just pooped in my pants. Like it's crazy.
Isn't that the bit also where part of it, like, it's all like red as well? Like there's
red lights,
and that was incredible. Like and that was also the part where I began to really appreciate the combat and stuff, because like you've got like wolves down there with you, but then you also there's infected as well, and I managed to get them to turn on each other, and it was brilliant. Like just getting them to do that, and then I just sneaked past and just.
Well, but did you throw things like bottles and bricks?
No, all I did was I just shot my gun and then ran off in a different direction, and it brought them all come running.
Yes,
just waste a bullet.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, so far up to this point, and a lot further into the game, I was properly stealthing everything. Like I wasn't getting into combat at all. Really, it was all stealth. But yeah, I mean. It was horrendously scary, and it was the first time that I had the police show up at my door because we'd had neighbours complaining about the sound of my PS4. That happened several times throughout the week. Excuse me, sir. We think you've set off a jet engine in your front room. No, I'm playing The Last of Us. Is it any good? It's okay. I'm still early on. Oh, I've not heard any spoilers, so don't tell me anything. I won't. Please leave. Yeah. Joel dies. Right.
And Joel dead. Bye. What? Sorry, what did you say? Horse dead. Bye. What? No.
Right, and then you get to the you arrive at the theatre, which is sort of your base for a little bit, isn't it?
Which again, the way it's like written and presented, like I was like so thankful to thank God, like a safe place, and just feeling exactly how the characters would be feeling after going through that subway.
I didn't.
Didn't you? Just thought, thank God, like a place of refuge. I'm out of there.
But I didn't know it was a place of refuge. I just thought there's a lot of seats in there.
Yeah,
how many is it? Oh, we can open the door and there's loads of like clickers doing a bit of Romeo and Juliet or whatever, and they're all just like clapping along to it.
Yeah,
and they'll turn around and look at you.
I tell you, when I was exploring that, I was expecting something to lunge out at some point. There was going to be something going on.
But again, that's how attention's done so well, because I think in so many other games, something would lunge out. So you're like, oh, is something going to be here? But like the longer it went on when nothing was happening, the more tense it felt.
It's funny, actually, you should say that, Matt, because that is an excellent technique they use in various different ways. Like, so the point you're making is that if there are areas where there isn't always a zombie that's jumping out, then you don't know if you're entering an area that's got zombies in it or hasn't. Clickers, infected, whatever.
But I mean,
but they also do that. I don't know if you've
clickers are
noticed.
one type of the infected.
Yeah, I've whatever. The infected zombies. All right, let's not do that. We'll get complaints. But the other technique they use that's very similar to that is that there's a lot of areas with knee height cover and long grass, but no enemies. So you walk in there and you're going, this is a combat area, right? This is a combat area. Maybe I should slow down and look around because I'm definitely going to get attacked at some point. And it doesn't happen. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Which again is brilliant because, my criticisms of the Uncharted games in the past is you go into an area, you see boxes and something knee high, like, okay, combat. But like they flip that, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, totally right. So that's kind of the what I'd consider the first act. It's you arrive at that theatre. Dina finds out that you're actually immune. You joked about it earlier in the weed growing room, didn't you?
The weed growing section was brilliant too. Yeah,
it was pretty cool. It wasn't weren't amazing, but it was a funny setting. But I guess. Again,
like you really got a sense of their relationship. I think Dina is such an amazing character. I mean, most of these characters are amazing, but I thought Dina was brilliant. Their relationship was so good, and it was so perfectly weighted. I thought it was fantastic.
I just feel they stopped doing stuff with Dina, like quite early on. And you could say, well, that's because their relationship's clearly deteriorating in this small amount of time. As Dina finds out that actually, Ellie is she's not. Like Dina's not her number one motivation.
Exactly.
That's quite clear.
She's always going to be number two to what whatever she was, for what Ellie was really up to, like the whole time.
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Okay, so then you're treated to your first real flashback, and one of the best moments. Well, I'm not even going to say that anymore.
Before, I guess I could scroll down notes. This is where Dina reveals she's pregnant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that was a massive shock. But obviously, there's no foreshadowing there. There's no like.
Is she what she reveals it here? I thought we'd already known that.
She basically reveals that bit, and it's like holy shit, and then it goes back
because
to
she's
because she's been sick. Yeah, she's been sick a few times. I thought she was turning. I thought she was infected. Really? Yeah. Well, there was a moment where she was like, she threw up, and then Ellie was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm totally fine. And then they carry on moving. And that was like way before all of this. So I was kind of like, she's ill or something.
I just thought she was tired. I mean, in that situation, I'd be doing much worse than being sick. I mean, it was
what
awful.
you be doing?
What, from being tired? What do you do when you're tired? Do you just start vomiting everywhere?
Yeah. It's not just being tired. It's the extreme nature of what you've just gone through and everything. You're just going to be like having a bit of a sick.
I have to go to sleep before 2 o'clock in the morning. Otherwise, here it comes.
Yes, that was a huge shock, and I also thought, like, Dina, why the hell did you come on this journey with me if you knew you were pregnant?
She's a young lady in love, Matt.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm like, oh, okay, we have to go back now, like that, And Ellie was kind of, I guess, between
Matt, were you like, you're ruining it?
just got out to the theatre. This is
aren't you supposed to wear one of those badges?
No, right, but I mean, like, Ellie's emotions were a mixture between sort of angry and shocked, I guess. And she seemed pissed off to me.
Yeah, I didn't really get that.
Well, she sort of stormed off and like, and I'm sure there's a line. I was saying like, I think Dina might have said I'm like I'm not a liberty, but I'm like a hindrance or something. Words to that effect. And then Ellie's like, yeah, you are, and then sort of storms off.
Oh, if that happened, it did not stick with me. James, did this happen?
No, I don't remember that. No.
Yeah. Because it just felt like they had an argument, and then she ran off, and then and then you don't see it till next morning. I was like, okay, fine.
Oh yeah, I think I do remember an argument. Anyway, right. So we get to. I'm going to stop saying, one of my favourite bits of the game, because I could say that at so many moments throughout this. But the flashback with Joel in the museum was absolutely wonderful, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
For Ellie's birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, this is an amazing moment. Like the giraffe moment in the first game for me.
Pushing each other in the river. Like, that felt like The Last of Us 1 just carried on from there, right?
Yeah.
It was, the relationship was really in a good place back then. Joel had put all this effort in to make her birthday special, and everything was wonderful, from chucking hats on dinosaurs to right the way up to the incredible moment where she's in the space pod, and you get to see her sort of close her eyes and be somewhere else for a little bit.
I love that, with like the audio of the rocket flying off and the helmet, and it was brilliantly done. Perfectly done. They got the point across. It felt good. It looked good. Some very funny moments in there. A nice little break from everything we've been through up to this point. And again, it made like what you played up to then sadder, because you knew this was in the past, and it's just like, bloody hell, they had such a great relationship at that time. Not only did the relationship kind of break down, but obviously now Joel's got like a golf club in his head. It's it's a really beautiful moment, and like I said, that reminded me of what the sort of stuff I did with the giraffe in the first one. Definitely,
there was
brilliant.
giraffes in that.
There was,
Matt. She draws them, so I was happy. I was satisfied. Yeah, I was loving it. Don't you worry about that. So then it's back to the main story, and Jesse and Ellie head out. And I don't remember much about this whole area, but I do obviously remember the set piece of the car crash scene when they get in a car. They're fighting the wolves, fighting fighting everyone, like the infected and everything, and then they escape in a car, which goes horribly wrong because it's...
Yeah, this is the first bit of game I kind of struggled, and I was like, I played the whole game on not moderate or normal, or whatever, I think it's moderate it's called, and I kind of struggled in this bit. I mean, I got through it, but I was like, with like the dogs and stuff sniffing you out, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't have much in the way of ammo, and I was like,
I kind of want to talk about the various different enemy types as a whole, but so they introduce new enemy types that sometimes I feel aren't needed. The dogs, I can see why they were introduced, and it's fine. I just never really... All they do is they explain that they can smell you when you're hiding, but only if you're close enough. So basically, if you notice that they're starting to see your scent, and you can see your own scent in listen mode, which made zero sense. But if you could see your own scent in listen mode, then you just had to run off. But in my head, I didn't work that out until a little bit later in the game, because I just thought, wouldn't they still be able to smell my scent even if I'm running over there?
Yeah,
I don't quite get it.
I was the same, because it doesn't matter how far I go, surely the dog will just follow that scent.
I really hated fighting those dogs. They were my priority target whenever there was any dog around.
That's the first thing you kill when you see that area. But to be fair, the options for stealth killing in terms of weaponry really open up after that. So it was really easy to take them out. You just had to make sure that you found them.
I didn't find
it's at that point you get the bow and arrow, isn't it? And then it becomes a lot easier once you got that. Cause,
and it's the same once you can craft silencers for your pistols. It's
I never did that the entire game. Never used a silencer.
You're kidding me, James. You never did that.
Never used one, no.
Oh, what? I
Imagine
use that
a bow and arrow
loads.
without having to actually aim. Like, you just put the crosshair over their head and then shoot them dead.
But it's using resources all the time, wasn't it? It was like, I use those for other things.
Resources, though.
Yeah,
but anyway, that whole section where you're going sort of in and out, there's like, how is it that there's loads of houses, there's loads of places to go in and out, alleyways and stuff, and ground floor, top floor, where that people can see you, plus there's loads of enemies, plus the dogs. Yeah, and actually at that point I was getting a little bit like lost. Like, okay, like where's the way I need to go? Like, I know that's not a bit where they say like look for that. Oh no, I think once you meet Jesse, then you say, okay, you go towards that plume of smoke. But even at that point, I was like, I wasn't sure 100% where to go, and I was like trying to sneak around and avoid the enemies, because I've been trying to play basically mostly stealth anyway at that point. But you have to go through a house and work out exactly where to go. I mean, I got through that bit, but that bit was a bit of a struggle for me, because I felt like it just pushed me into combat scenarios where I would like to have snuck past or done more stealth, but it says you've got to go through his house to get to where you need to get to, and it wasn't 100% clear.
This was one of the other things though that I really loved about the game, was how well paced I felt it was between like combat and like exploring, because there were so many times when I was exploring where I was like, I'd be up for a bit more combat now. Yeah, it'd be quite nice to to do some combat, and then it would happen. And then it would like get to the point where you're like, oh, I've had enough of this now. And then it would end. It just felt like it perfectly matched exactly what I wanted, really. Like,
basically, every time I loved every moment that I was fighting human enemies. I got a little bit frustrated when I was fighting some of the infected. And, the last faction you meet, which we'll get to, I hated fighting them. But there's a different reason for that. But no, I love fighting enemies, because if I did ever get discovered and they all swarmed on me, the action was fantastic. Yeah. Really fantastic. The best bit was when you walk into that sort of atrium and there's the people hanging from the ceiling. Do you remember that area?
Oh, yeah.
That whole battle was so good. Proper tense.
That's like the TV station, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, the TV station. It's really, really incredible fight that. And then of course we're treated to some really amazing combat areas. But what you're talking about, Matt, is when you're walking down the road and you're given the freedom to go into places as an option, right? It's that, as James was saying in Seattle, it reminded me a lot of that, where it's a sort of risk reward. There's a shop there. You're not really being led there, but it has got an interior, and if you go, you can see infected or some enemies in there. So you have to decide whether you want to take them on to see what resources you can get, or just ignore it and then just continue on your way.
I think
But then also, it's not even just the resources. It's like often there's like notes and like story bits and everything.
Story
Like that.
backgrounds,
fantastic.
and items and shit like that. Yeah, yeah. I mean that whole thing was great, and then ending with that car crash scene, which was not much in terms of gameplay, but wonderful to look at. Like so well choreographed and looks fantastic. Especially when the clicker jumps on the bonnet and tries to get you through the window. Yeah, it's great.
It suddenly went very Uncharted, which I don't mind.
No, I didn't mind a bit of that here and there.
And once again, Jesse was a brilliant character. So Jesse, in that bit where you're Ellie,
never thought that. Never thought that, Jesse.
I didn't like Jesse.
I didn't dislike him. I didn't think he was a great character though.
Oh, I like Jesse. I thought he was good.
Jesse
empty.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was much to him.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what could you describe him as? He's just this guy that had a part to play in the plot, but I never felt I really got to know him.
I don't know. I felt like he was trying to prove himself a lot, like through most of when he was around. Anyway.
Okay, so let's talk about Jesse now. When he died, did you care?
Yeah.
I sent Matt a message.
I was gutted. I like Jesse a lot.
Yeah. I was kind of like surprised because I thought he was going to be a little bit more. There was going to be more to him, but I felt like it didn't really go anywhere with him.
I felt like he had more to give for sure. And I liked his relationship with Ellie. It was clear. It felt like a sort of an older brother, but obviously there's I definitely got feelings at the beginning a little bit annoyed. He said he wasn't annoyed about
he
the kiss.
Was totally annoyed.
He was, and then he wasn't 100% sure where he was at, but also it felt like a bit of an older brother vibe. So some annoyance, but you can tell he cared about Ellie and Dina.
Do you have an older brother? You don't, do you?
No, I got a younger sister.
Maybe that's why I didn't like him as much.
But when you're Ellie and you're you snuck through those houses, and then it's like suddenly a quick cutscene, and then someone grabs you, and it's Jesse. You know that in like the previews and stuff that I think maybe it might be in the trailers or some preview stuff to press in that scene. It was actually Joel.
That's if I remember correctly, and I've not gone back to watch it, but if I remember correctly, it's not that it was Joel. It's just in that scene it cuts when the hand goes over the mouth, right? And they used a line that was at the start of the game. I don't think it was specifically recorded, or it might have been recorded for the trailer, and then they put it over the top to make it look like it was Joel, but it was actually Jesse. So yeah, I mean, the marketing did really well to try and disguise the fact that Joel was not a big part of.
There's also another one they do where I think it might be a scene where you're on horseback with Dina, and then I think it might have been like previous or something where you're with Joel or with.
Oh really?
Which I think is cool. Them flipping it to not give anything else away.
Okay, right. So then the next big scene, sniping flashback with Tommy and Joel, and that's the first sort of hint. So you've heard that the relationship was strange between Ellie and Joel at the start of the game, but something happened after the party that happened at Jackson, but we're never really told that their relationship is truly rocky until we see the sniping scene with Tommy and Joel. Very strange scene because I didn't do any sniping after this. I mean, it certainly helped out for the bow and arrow when I was doing long range shots with that.
You mean Tommy and Ellie, because you're Ellie and you're practicing sniping, aren't you?
Yeah, Tommy,
and then you both go back to like the house, and then Tommy's like, you and
it would be weird if Tommy was teaching Abby how to snipe. I'll be honest, that would be quite a departure to what's been going on.
So into sniping. I mean, I did. I had to put a scope something on my rifle. So I think there was one other big scene where you can use the rifle to snipe those people in a building, which we'll definitely come to. It's not near the endish, and that's the only time I did sniping. Yeah.
You see, I put the scope on my rifle, but never used it, not once.
So that's another regret I have, because I put quite a lot of resources into upgrading that rifle and never used it hardly at all. I used it once or twice.
The rifle a lot.
I rarely used it. Not for sniping anyway. It was.
So
I mean, we'll come to this, but the bit I use is when you're Ellie and you're in the boat and you come to a bit where basically you see like the front of a massive building like ripped off, and there's loads of scars in there, and you basically climb up on the building and snipe.
I did a cowardly thing there. I did a sensible thing there. I just did completely avoid them and went round them.
Yeah, I think I probably just avoided.
I didn't bother with them.
Anyway, we'll come to that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that scene is the first real instance where there's a bit of tension between them, and well, I suppose we'll come back to this scene later. Right. So meeting the I've got scars written down.
The Seraphites.
The Seraphites for the first time in that field with people walking around with torches,
whistling.
Yeah.
Horrible. Because the first time
you
hear the whistle is when you get an arrow in your arm, like in your shoulder. That was all you hear is, and then you get hit by an arrow, and it's like it's a bit of a jump scare.
The worst thing about that is like I didn't know what the whistling meant. Like, does whistling mean they're fine, or they found someone?
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Totally intentional.
Yeah, so I thought that was great. I hate it, but it was clever how players didn't know what that meant. Does that mean they've someone seen me from afar and they're going to get me? It was like the tension was ridiculous.
Initially, but you totally know what all the whistles mean by towards the end of the game, right?
Yeah, because...
Did you pick up on that?
I didn't know.
I did, but because they do a couple, don't they? I think they do a couple of different types, depending on whether they've seen you and stuff. For us, it's just communication.
Yeah. So they're communicating with each other, but the whistles patterns are always the same for what they mean. But obviously you need to learn that. So, that first area where you have no idea what the whistles mean, it scares the life out of you. Because you hear whistling and they're just communicating with each other. It doesn't mean anything, really. Then they've got whistles that they've seen you, whistles that they've, they're not looking for you anymore, and whistles that they know where you are and they're attacking you and stuff like that. But in that area, it's horrible. I mean, there's so many places to hide, but they seem like such an upgrade over the wolves.
They seem like they're everywhere, and like the rain's coming down, and they got their flaming torches, and it's really intense suddenly.
Yeah, really good introduction to them. I thought worked really well. Right, okay, so I've got and then eventually you catch up with Nora. So this is whereabouts is what's the location here? I can't remember. You're in a base, right? You're in a wolf, but you get into a wolf base. I think it's surrounded by, or they were clearing out an area or something. But there's loads of them there, aren't they?
This is a hospital, isn't it?
This is the hospital, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, of course you are. And then you have that chase scene, which I thought was fucking brilliant. It just felt so good. I mean, there was a moment where I stopped for a bit and then moved forward, and she was just waiting around the corner. But that was me trying to break the game and see what happened. But now what I love about this chase scene really is because is the fact that Naughty Dog have tried this in so many games. Do you remember the rooftop chase scene in Uncharted 3?
I mean, there's a lot, isn't there?
The rooftops, you're playing as young Drake. And
I know, yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of security guards, I think, that are on the rooftops, and it's just so bad. It's such a bad bit of the game, and it just does not work. Here, it's perfect. You know exactly where she's going. You're chasing after her, and I mean that scene when you finally catch up with her, that's so good because I again, this plays into the themes that come up later in the game, but when you finally kill her, you really want to kill her. When she turns around and says,
I was going to ask if you felt the same as that.
Yeah, when he got what he's deserved, I was just like, fucking kill her. And and then you batter her. But
there's
a really great moment.
Sorry, James.
It was good the way that because they give you control with that as well, but then obviously they don't show it. But it's like that's trying to make you complicit, if you know what I mean, like in the act that is going on, which I thought worked very well.
Yeah, because I mean, it was at this point where I was thinking, right, okay, there's no way back now for Ellie. She really has lost it, and she is really going through with everything. Nothing's going to stop her. She turned at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you could see the anger and the... Yeah.
And there was a few, obviously, there's a few bits during the game where you're thinking, I think Ellie's gone too far, or, you're not 100% sure whether she's past the point of no return, really. But that bit, I wanted to to get Nora and wanted to kill her. I felt like I needed to do that. So that,
but
that
she
also
crossed
made
the
me-
line, right? She crossed the
Yeah,
line as a
definitely.
character there.
Yeah.
It
that
was
was
like
also
she
the
took pleasure in killing someone, and that's the first time we've really seen
Yeah.
that from Ellie.
That was also the first time I realized the story is okay. Like she's going through everyone on this list. You know, all the photos. I think she might have seen the photos when she went to the theatre because
Yeah, that's right. You go upstairs and she's
so
got
it's
the
okay.
photos
Yeah,
and stuff.
I realized. She's going through every one of these photos, finding them, killing them, on to the next one, on to the next one. But I thought our chase, was well done, and I felt like a real desire, to kill her, and I felt it was like, and afterwards, I was like, God, I felt shocked as Ellie, and also myself, just desperate to kill Nora and get on to the next one.
Yep, for sure. Right. Okay, then we get a flashback to Ellie confronting Joel. Joel admits to what he did in part 1. Obviously, you're teased at the start of that scene that Ellie already knows what Joel did in part 1, because she found a tape of... I can't remember who the tape was of, but they were basically saying what had happened. And then she flat out confronts Joel. Joel admits to it. And that's the reason why the relationship's been so rocky. She knew. The end of part 1 kind of had her accepting. I'm not sure she was convinced back then either. That's what's so good about that ending.
No, me neither.
But yeah, this was the whole confirmation of it. Seeing how broken she was at hearing at what Joel did. That's when I first started going, oh yeah, Joel's not a good guy at all, is he? That gets made even...
I couldn't understand why she was pissed off. Like, he clearly did it because he loved her, but then, it's like, is that the moment where she's like, I wanted my life to mean something, and my life could have meant something?
Yeah, but forget all that. I mean, of course she's pissed off. She's living in a horrific world that could have been saved. Like, they could be not going through any of this shit.
Yeah,
but because
I get that. But
Joel's actions.
He loved her, he wanted to protect her, but I thought that scene was great because again, it was incredibly tense, and the sort of motion capture and stuff is so good that you can see, as the moment Joel sort of confirms it, and then she's her worst sort of fears have come true, because up to that point, although she probably didn't believe him anyway, there's always a chance. But when she heard exactly from his mouth what he did, it was a real shock.
Yeah, it was a good moment. It was, not a good moment, but it was they did it well. They did it well.
Those moments, I think this might be the second, but there might be a couple at this point where you and Joel are like going through like clearing areas out. I mean, they did it at a museum and stuff. That was always really tense. I think when you went to the museum, like something might have fallen down and suddenly you like split up. And then you were having like clear out rooms on your own and stuff. And I thought all those were quite tense. But I thought the end of this scene where they're both fighting, I think, in like the reception of like a hotel, in like the lobby and stuff to get out, I thought that was really good. And then they got out finally,
Yeah. So, okay. We now have Ellie heading to the aquarium, which at the time was just another location. But, later on down the line, we find out how important that place is. Oh god, it's such a big moment in the game that doesn't feel like a big moment in the game at the time. But then, you soon realise that it's really important because Ellie kills a dog, kills Owen, and kills Mel, and clearly,
I mean that's Alice, isn't it? The dog that she kills.
I don't. Well, it's the one that you're supposed to.
It is,
love
it is. Yeah.
I've got a whole thing about that, but I suppose we'll get to that later on, right? But I felt more guilty about something else I did to that dog.
Did you? Hang on. Okay, go on.
No, I mean, I think I know what you're gonna do, but let's save it.
Right, let's save it. Okay, fine. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that scene.
Shocking scene.
Yeah.
I mean, the how graphic it was when she kills Mel, and then finally showing some remorse for what she's done was quite a moment. And that was mainly, because she discovered that Mel was pregnant.
Again, that was a huge shock because, you'd see Mel up to that point, but it was, you hadn't really thought about anything, and then when she like falls down or maybe is when it's revealed she's pregnant. I was like, oh my god, fuck,
What? It's not. How do you mean?
Yeah, because it's only when Ellie kills her, or it's when he realised, oh shit, no, okay, she's pregnant at that point. But
really?
I hadn't realised.
We knew that in the first scene. It's right at the start.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah. You know where Owen and Abby go up? They're in the snow, and the reason he takes her up to that part away from everyone else just before they get attacked by the infected, or Abby gets attacked by the infected. He's taken her up there to tell her that Mel's pregnant.
Oh right, yeah. Oh, well, for some, it was just a massive shock when I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have said it was. I wouldn't go, how did you not know that? Because I don't think we'd seen much of Mel before that point, and you might not have put it together that that's Mel. But I instantly knew when we walked in that room that she was pregnant. But yeah, the discovery was horrible. It was horrible. But there's loads of stuff that's in this game that's absolutely horrific. Yeah, a really tough scene, and the first time you see Ellie break down like that was quite hard to watch. But again, yeah. So moving on, controlling Abby in the scene with her dad starts off just they're in a forest, they find each other, they've got quite a nice relationship, they save a zebra.
They saved the zebra.
Oh, that bit with the zebra was horrible.
Yeah, it was. It's all cut up and stuff. Yeah, it was not very nice.
I wasn't sure what he was taking. I wasn't sure what it was, where he was going to take and what he was going to show her. But I did assume, a pregnant animal.
Did you
of some
know
sort.
instantly where it was going? The moment that guy rocked up and said, "We've found someone that's immune."
Yeah.
You knew who he was, like, pretty much straight away, right?
Oh yeah, of course,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. He was definitely going to be the guy holding the knife at the end of, or the scalpel at the end of Last of Us 1. Yeah, it was crazy. But seeing that all play out was the first time I realised, like, I knew where this game was going from here, right? And it would be so easy to turn around and say, oh, this is so obvious, to go, maybe the bad guys are good all along. We've seen that in so many films and games and stuff that you just kind of go, oh, come on. But it was so perfectly done.
Well, it wasn't even that though, because it's not like the bad guys are good all along. It's like everyone's not great, actually.
Yeah,
like
everyone's not great. But more importantly, I was way on Abby's side from that moment, from that very moment. I just thought, oh yeah, Joel was one of the biggest pieces of shit in the world.
I think in general, like the whole game, you could say that she is actually a significantly more sympathetic character than Ellie is. Like, definitely, in terms, because also, I mean, she also gives mercy as well repeatedly, like something that Ellie does not do, like ever really, for like different reasons.
This is what angers me the most about some of the stuff that I've read and seen videos of, and there's a lot of anger directed at Naughty Dog, and we don't really want to go into the horrific abuse they've been receiving because, it's just horrible, right? And we're trying to focus on the game from our perspective. But one of the main complaints I've seen is that people were upset that Joel died, right? And he didn't get the death he deserved, and he just got killed by this character that they didn't really know at the time. But I don't know how you can look at that like that by the end of this game, because he's not a nice guy. He's not a good guy, and he was always presented as not a nice guy. And we know quite clearly the decision that he'd made at the end of 1, but because it was right at the end of part 1, you don't really think of the impact that it has after that. You're focused on the relationship between these two characters, so it felt more like, oh yeah, all Joel. I mean, it was perfect because that first game feels like you totally understood the decision he made. Joel was trying to save someone that he truly, truly cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And because you didn't see the aftermath of that, that was kind of like, that was it. That was the
I
story.
felt like there's no repercussions. It was
Yeah,
like he did
he
that
wanted
heroic
to
thing
save
at a
someone
time.
that he
That was
loved.
it.
Yeah. This shines a spotlight on that and goes, no, that was really fucked up. That was really fucked up. And that was where it clicked in my head that, oh yeah, the people that I'm supposed to want to win this game and this story, I don't now. I don't want them to win at all.
Definitely.
Because it's like with what he did, it's not just the fact that he saved Ellie, it's that he murdered everybody, like as well, which is
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, and it all stems from him losing his daughter, which obviously is tragic. But at the same time, you're condemning the rest of humanity. Like it's crazy. And I mean, this also comes after that pivotal scene with Ellie killing Nora, Owen, and Mel. And so, although you could sit back and go, oh man, but Ellie didn't know. It wasn't her fault that Joel made this decision. So, maybe she's still good. Maybe she's still the one that I'm vouching for. But those scenes where she murders those people make you go, what are you doing now? Like, you know why they did this. You've got to understand that you can't just go around killing all these people. I don't know, man. It's complicated in the best possible way, and it makes you just go over those different relationships, and you naturally try and find someone to support and to root for in games like this. And here, everyone's got their negative sides to them, and it makes you think about the relationships a lot more. But at this point in the game, I was definitely like, I want to see more of Abby because I'm on her side, which was a weird feeling, a very, very weird feeling.
Because at the start you think she's the antagonist, she's killed, Joel, that's bad, but when you start to see, hang on, she had just a perfectly normal, lovely relationship with her dad.
Well, the line that gets you is when she turns around to her dad and says, "If that was me, I'd want you to do it."
Yeah.
Or something like that, doesn't it? She said, "If that was me, I'd ask you to do it." Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, I'd like
and
you."
I was like, "Oh my god, she is literally saying, my life is not worth the same as finding a cure for this thing."
Yeah.
It's such a huge moment. That great scene, really well done.
Looking back, from that perspective, and then thinking back to the last section of the first game, which I have said countless times, which I didn't like, it's turned into a massive shooting gallery. That made me also re-look at my thoughts on that, because again, it wasn't just Joel, killing everyone in his path to be the hero and to save Ellie. Now it's like some murderous rampage.
Yeah,
and it was
exactly
at a time,
what it was,
but it felt different because you were controlling Joel. Who
you got to remember most of the negative side of that last level in the first game was it was shit to play. Like, it was just not a very fun area.
But I'm talking about narratively and
narratively, yeah.
So it made me look at that differently. Yeah, and from this point, I was like, Abby has had her dad killed by Joel, who said, yeah, it's fine, and then changed his mind and killed everyone, and then and
literally Abby's dad was about to save the planet.
Yeah, So I was totally with you. I was like, okay, well, I'm with Abby on this for sure, and honestly, that only increased throughout from this point forward for the whole game for me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, 100% for me as well. Abby shows way more empathy for people than Ellie does, and that's mad considering where we were at the start of the game. So that's what I consider the end of Act 2, just discovering all that stuff, and it sets up for quite a wild change, because, I mean, we must have all thought, oh, here's a quick bit with Abby again.
Yeah,
but
well,
no,
I'll tell you,
it's pretty much the rest of the game.
When that started one evening when I was playing it, I'd been playing for about an hour, and then it shifted to Abby.
I'll do this Abby
bit. Then I just thought, I'll just play until I'm back to Ellie again. And then it was just like, and then just like, this keeps on going. And then as soon as you started to get upgrade path things, that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is.
But when you see the upgrade path in for the first time,
Yeah.
When you see the upgrade tree for the first time, it's only 2 options. So I thought, oh, I see. They're trying to give a bit of upgrade stuff in here, but it's not going to be for too long because there's only 2 things. And then obviously you find more magazines and stuff, and it's like, okay, right, there's loads to upgrade here. Really, really well done that. But the introduction to this whole section is fucking phenomenal. Like walking around that town set in the stadium. It was just brilliant.
It was amazing looking out of that stadium when you finally get a chance to sort of walk up the steps. I mean, I like when I go, to see live football or go to a new stadium. That is the best bit where you get to, walk up steps and finally see the entire stadium. And I kind of felt that in this game. It was amazing to go into the stands and look at all the things that they've done and built this
and
town.
I've heard complaints about this as well, about how what they were trying to do was show you that the main enemy you've been fighting throughout, the wolves, are actually good people, and they were saying that's so far-fetched. That's not how they were acting at the start of the game. They were killers, they were murderers, and I don't agree with that at all. You can clearly see with this community, there's 2 sides of it. You walk around
that community, and you are just sort of like, okay, there's quite a lot of morally dubious things going on here, like that don't look great, like people that have been chained up and stuff like that.
Yeah, not just that. There's also the fact that, yes, there is a community. There's schools, there's, canteens, there's this, there's that. There's people living there. There's people that clearly carefree that live in this area. But there's also, a regimented army, essentially, that is kind of feels separate. It feels like there's 2 sides to that community. There's the army, the people that go out and protect their community, and the people that live inside it that don't go outside. They just stay inside and go through normal sort of civilian life, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, stunning to look at. Instantly got what was going on there, and some great characters around that area as well. Manny was fantastic.
Yeah, Manny is good. Yeah, and like talking to his dad and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, nice. the whole area was absolutely fantastic. And I suppose I'm getting to the point that I'm going to get to later. So the dog, what's the dog's name?
Alice.
Right. So the big part of the dog, and it's later in the game, but we'll talk about it now because I've got a point to make. The big part with the dog is that when you're going into the aquarium, you kill a dog like you kill loads of other dogs in the game. But later on in the game, you play as Abby, and the dog's your pet. And then later on,
you realise who you've
Abby
killed.
walks into the aquarium and sees that you've killed her pet, and you're supposed to feel bad. But the problem was, when I was Ellie, it was just another dog. Even when Abby saw the dog dead in the corridor, I was like, I didn't really register. Oh yeah, I did that as Ellie.
Oh, didn't you?
No, it didn't click with me. Right?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
So fine.
I was like, oh shit.
I felt worse when you meet it for the first time, and then you drop the ball, and she's in that sort of cage, isn't she?
Yeah,
or fenced
you can
off
throw
area.
the toy or the ball.
And you throw the toy. Did anyone else just dash it out of the fucking over the fence?
No, I didn't. I was tempted to do that, but I just thought that would be mean. Yeah, so
I did it by accident. I threw it out, and Abby goes, "Sorry, boy," and then walks out. And then I spent literally about 3 minutes looking in the grass outside to see if the ball was there so I could chuck it back over the fence to the dog. It wasn't there, it disappears. I was absolutely gutted.
I saw that and thought I could probably lob this over the cage, and I was tempted, but I was like, no, I felt bad enough as it was. I didn't just throw the ball once. I was like, I did it for like 6, 7, 8 times, and I could. And even when I stopped, I was like, oh, I feel bad. Like he just wants to play.
Also, when
I didn't lob it out into the stadium, Dave.
When you do that, it chucks it out and hit a clicker on the head halfway, like in Seattle. And I love that. If at the end of the game, when you're fighting in the water, you just see a tennis ball land like.
Or like during the credits, or like it goes over the farm.
Goes over Truckman's name in the credits. The scene in the aquarium where you do the same thing and you're chucking a rubber toy?
Yeah.
Well, did you think it seemed to want you to chuck that toy a lot of times? And I thought, is it waiting for me to like chuck it into a certain area and then the dog doesn't come back and then you find it mutilated or something?
Yeah, I was worried that was going to happen too, but we'll come to that.
There was a bit where it looked like you could chuck it through a window, and I was like, maybe I should do that. You know, it's.
And you killed Alice again.
How many times does this dog die in the game? Right, okay.
So yeah, Act 3, we're in the stadium base. We met Alice. Dave lobbed a toy out of the cage like a monster.
And then you sneak out and find the aquarium with Owen, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is another fantastic bit.
I mean, the whole thing's fantastic. Yeah, a great part of the game, discovering the story of the family that used to live there, seeing all the drawings from the kid everywhere. Do you actually find out what happened to that family? Because I didn't.
Well, if you go back, there are like, because I think the kid was ill, or basically something was happening to the kid, and then the wife left the dad, I think, and then you see.
Oh, I think that's right.
Him. Yeah, no. I think the mum might have taken the kids away, and you see like a dad in a chair at the end.
That's right. I do remember that. I was half expecting when they got to the boat and they opened the door to the boat. I expected three infected in there.
Yeah, I was constantly expecting the family or the son or someone to be there. I mean, like when you get to open like the room, I was like, oh fuck it, who am I going to have to? Again, once again, it's playing with you because you feel like any other game, there would be a scene where the family, as infected, burst out. But for the whole scene, there's a bit of underlying tension where I'm sort of expecting or waiting to see one of them in there, but you don't. Like having that story of the family is great. And I don't know about you guys, but I thought Owen was another fantastic character. I can see why people might think he's pretty bland, but I thought he's
it's perfectly set up as macho American character like throughout the whole thing.
I don't know. I see him more as like the everyman because at first, the first time you meet him, he's like part of that sort of the military type thing, but he's quite fragile is like the wrong way to put it, but he's clearly done with that sort of way of life, wants to go out to the Fireflies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like when you first see him, you're like, oh, I know this character already. Like he feels like he's in from Until Dawn. But then, it totally flips that, and he becomes one of the most interesting characters in the game, I think. Yeah. Just his outlook on everything and his frustrations, and you could truly see where his heart is. The only thing that I didn't quite get was what happened with, like, how did the pregnancy come about? And I'm not asking.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, but he was going out with Mel.
Yeah, they had a relationship going on.
They had a relationship, but they never really felt connected, which, again, I think is totally intentional.
Well, yeah, because there is kind of supposed to be like a rebound, isn't it? I thought he was like rebounding off of Abby.
Yeah, it felt like that. It certainly felt like that, but they never go into it much, and they don't need to either.
Yeah, but I like that.
The mystery,
I like
totally.
The fact you're trying to question Hound. So why is he with Mel? And like when Owen and Abby are getting on so well, and the scene where they're in the fairgrounds, and Abby's sort of scared of heights. And Owen jumps off. Like again, that's made me love Abby even more. Like the fact she's so scared of heights, and obviously they played like later, which is brilliant. But yeah, I thought their relationship was just so good, Owen and Abby's.
But then also Mel clearly is very suspicious of Abby and doesn't really like her, probably because of the relationship.
No suspicion
thing.
There. She knows exactly what's going on. She knows exactly what's going on. It's clear that they're not an item, right? Because Abby is so obsessed with finding Joel. That's clearly got in the way of their relationship, which otherwise would have been a strong relationship. But she knows. Mel knows exactly what's going on.
Is that what you see as the reason why Owen and Abby weren't together?
100%. 100%. There was that moment in the aquarium where something almost happened, and she said, "I want to go back to training. Goodbye." Like that's and she's training because she wants to kill Joel. I
mean, I got she was obsessed, and that would cause issues. But I like the fact it was I didn't 100% know exactly why they're broken up, and I was constantly trying to question it and work out why, because they seem so good together.
James, are you going to say that was after they killed Joel?
Yeah, I thought that was after, was it not? It was not.
I don't think it was. I think that was before. That was a flash forward. That's something that could have been done better, and I haven't got the answer for how they could have possibly have done this. But this was probably easier for you to follow, Matt, because you did it in such a short period of time. Like, you blitzed through the game in such a short period of time. But whereas I played it over 3 weeks, over multiple sessions of maybe 2 to 3 hours, it was kind of hard to follow the timeline a bit. Like, right, it was like 2 days forward, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 days in the future. It was like, what? Okay, I'm a little bit lost. As I said, when you look at it as a whole, when you go back and reread stuff or look at cutscenes again, you can piece it together and go, this is really well woven. This whole narrative is really well woven. But as I was going through it, there were times where I was kind of like, was that before or after? When was this?
I thought you could tell, with the graphics so good, I felt like you could tell just with how Abby and Owen looked. It felt like, you can tell if there's in the past or in a flash forward or whatever. But I thought Owen was an excellent character. I could see why people might think I was just like an everyman sort of person, but I think the juxtaposition between, or from him being like you see him as a military type at the beginning, being how he is, to then actually being, like actually concerned and want to leave and like doesn't want to do that sort of stuff anymore. I thought was really, really perfectly pitched again.
Yeah, for sure. Right, okay. So from here, you get caught. This is the hanging scene, right?
Yeah. So I can't remember. So how does Abby get caught by the scars?
Wasn't it by the lady with the hammer?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. But I'm trying to work out how.
I think it was just you're going for an action bit again, and then lady with a hammer comes out, and 2 of the bald guys come and grab hold of you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Let's say yes. Yeah, this scene was the scene where we'd seen in the first trailer, I believe. So as I was playing, again, I didn't watch the second state of play, didn't watch the second trailer, but I'd seen the first trailer, so I was thinking, okay, well, when are we going to see the scene in the rain and where there's like, that gruesome killing? I was also saying, like, when are we going to see that barn scene? I was constantly trying to work out when that was happening in the game.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, this scene was also horrendous.
Yeah, it's crazy how much of the game they showed, like, the later part. Like, usually with trailers, it's like the first, half an hour that they show off. But here, they really showed some stuff later on in the game, didn't they?
But also, that was massive misdirection as well, that trailer. Like, in terms of the expectations, I think that set up for what the game was going to be and like what you were going to be fighting and everything. Because
you don't know who you are at that point.
Yeah, and
you don't know who she is when you see that trailer. You don't know what she's been through, or what you've done in the journey.
You don't know who Abby is. Yeah, sure.
And also the woman who grabs you, who tries to do the hanging. It kind of felt like you see that and you think, oh, this must be like major antagonist.
Antagonist. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Absolutely, is not at all. Like,
no,
just another bit part.
But then you meet 2 of my favourite characters in the game, I think.
Yeah.
Another 2 amazing characters.
Yeah, wonderful characters. They come save you, you escape, you make it back to the aquarium. Not much to say, this is just, they're just great characters, aren't they, instantly?
Mm-hmm.
That bit was super tense when obviously you're being hung, and then I believe the people trying to kill you like kick away the thing you're standing on, so you're like struggling and basically about to be killed. That they come along and then they're both, I think Yara and Lev both kind of look at you like struggling, hanging essentially, about to die. And then
Yara wants to save you, but Lev knows you're a wolf, right?
Yeah, because she says cut her down, and he's like, why? And then she does.
And then you do, and then you sort of land on the ground, and then all the infected start arriving, and Yeah, and then think like Yara or Lev like throws you a gun, and then you're being chased through through the woods. I thought that was so good, so tense.
It was horrible, wasn't it? Like in terms of tension, that was, especially
and
when
like,
you get
it was
to that
like
building.
raining and like it was dark and horrible.
Yeah, it was great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, so you make it back to the aquarium. We all know that there's a operation. Well, medicine is needed for Yara's arm, which has been hammered by the people that call.
Yeah. Well, when they say clip her wings, oh god, that's so
horrible.
bad.
It is horrible, but I wish I'd never seen that scene as part of, like, the marketing, really, because I just it would have been so much better in context without knowing what's happened.
That's the thing, because I think that was a weird scene to show. Really, I think in terms of marketing, because it, like, out of context, it is really, really odd. Like, it just doesn't work at all. Like, it's just
I think you're right, James. I think that is misdirection. I mean, yeah, it's weird, like, to see that out of context, not knowing all the things you know when you're playing the game up to that point. But I guess that's just to confuse people. I don't know. I mean, if I feel like with the marketing, I mean, again, I didn't watch all of it because I tried to avoid it, but I think they were struggled to potentially tell people what the game's actually going to be about because it's so multi-layered. And so by just showing something off different that's clearly about violence and anger and stuff, you go in thinking it's a certain type of game when I think the story says something different. But I think the story is so multifaceted with so many different angles. Trying to comprise that down to a trailer, I think they really struggle.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm sure there are better scenes that they could have shown than just whacking this whole thing out there, because it sort of limited the impact of that scene and how horrible it was, because, you know, we've already seen it. But I suppose if you hadn't seen the marketing, then it's a pretty powerful scene. You need medicine. Your next task is to get the medicine, and of course Lev knows where to buy to get some. No, you had to go to the wolves first, right?
Yeah,
so you go to.
You go to the wolves base, and then they say, "Oh, we haven't got the medicine here; it's all been shipped off or whatever."
The hospital.
Yeah, and that's where it's in the hospital, but you go to the skyscrapers first, right?
Yeah, because Lev's like, because basically Yara hasn't got enough time, like she's going to die, and they're like, well, you need, and then Lev's like, well, we've got other routes, to get there more quickly, through the sky, which was horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing looked absolutely stunning, walking across those bridges, visually amazing. And then, you get to the other skyscraper, you can't use the lift. Oh, because you fall down, don't you?
Yeah, you fall through the roof, don't you? And it's
fall through the roof, and now you find yourself having to go down that other skyscraper. And my word, is that a horrible area? Like, really, really tense all the way down. Constant infected everywhere.
But before we get to that, I mean, like, this is great because, Abby's so scared of heights. In the previous scene where you're in at the fairground, I thought that was again really good. A bit more context about why it's so scary. It looked like frightening anyway. But even before that, like when they kept saying, don't worry, we've got ways we can get across the city. And we're like, hey, what are we going to see here? What exactly have the Seraphite built for like a group of people that you feel like they don't really use technology that much? Like what could they possibly have built to get across the city so quickly? And it's amazing to see basically those handmade bridges in the clouds
literally are physically impossible. Like, it's ridiculous. You look at some of these things and you just think that's no. That's so far-fetched. There's some far-fetched stuff in this. But
it's not just wood. They've used sort of like broken cranes and like built things across that.
Still, all that stuff would have blown down in the wind anyway. Just from that, there's no way it would have stayed up.
They were above the wind. They're above the clouds. But I get it. Yeah.
Do you know how much steel work is required to span 2 fucking skyscrapers at that height?
Well, it's insane. Have a lot of wood.
Wooden planks.
Quick question with that: how many times did you fall off? Because I fell off quite a few times, and it was horrible.
I only fell off when I was supposed to fall off.
I fell off quite a few times, and it was horrible.
Did you? Yeah. Because there's balancing, but I never. That never caught me out.
Did she just scream? What
Yeah,
happens?
she just screams and falls. She's like, ah, and then falls
What
down.
does Lev say?
Sometimes like shouts like no or whatever like that. It's not great. But
I think about it a lot, and I guess I thought about that a lot in this game, where you might, I might have played this for, I don't know, it doesn't matter how many hours I played it. I might have played tons of hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, and I'm like, you might have gone for an amazing scene, loads of stuff where you've killed enemies, you've escaped, and then there might be a bit where you just get like, you go in a corner and someone kills you instantly. I'm like,
yeah.
Just imagine that in the story, like, and like, or in James's story where you did all this heroic stuff after getting medicine, and Lev has to come back and say, "Yeah, Abby just fell off. Abby just fell off the building." It's like all that because she slipped.
Yeah, it's true. So the descent down that obviously is it's horrible.
So ridiculously tense all the
and
way through all the different floors.
We were around the same area. I mean, we played this alongside each other, basically, didn't we, James? Like, we were in the same areas throughout. And I remember saying that was horrific. That was horrible. And then I remember playing it, and then it said, right, we're going into the hospital. I walked into the hospital and went, okay, I'm just going to save and close this now. We'll come back to this tomorrow. It was too much. It was too much.
That was the thing, because when you actually get, like, I'd gone through that whole of that hotel, which was horrendous. It was horrible. Getting the flamethrower helped things a bit, but it still was horrible.
A great moment. I suddenly felt, okay, I can do this a bit more powerful.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you get into the hospital and you're like, you start to go down the stairs and you're like, I don't think I can do this.
It's when you go through the plastic flaps, man.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what is this going to be?
Because it's not because the character's in the other room, but the plastic flaps is between you and the character.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, right, I've got a lot to say about this hospital. So just skimming forward, you finally find the medicine in an ambulance, and well, it's teasing that there's something down there. This is ground zero. This is where the infection started. So the idea is that there are more, the infection has grown further here than it is anywhere else. And so the evolution of these infected, whatever, this is the worst you're going to see. This is the worst you're going to see. And it keeps
the tension was massive. And even before you see, what you see at the end, it's like when electricity's out and you got to put electricity on, I'm like, I don't want to put electricity on because what's going to happen is every door's going to open and it's going to be mental.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So even that, I'm like...
Also, I'm sure, that mechanic that if your flashlight goes out and then you've got to shake your pad.
Yeah,
right?
Got to hit a pad, yeah.
It was doing that a lot down in the hospital. That was intentional. I was
it did
constantly
that in the hotel a lot as well. I'm like...
shaking it like a madman.
When I was in the hospital, I was like, is it doing this? I mean, at first I was like, okay, is it doing it because I'm like so far down? But I was like, no, it's batteries. It's not about reception or anything. But that did that reception. I just thought like, I
should have got the 4G.
Am I losing battery? Am I losing something? Because it was doing it a lot, yeah.
So I think this area is some of the best in the game and also the absolute worst. Simply because the tension is so well done that it was almost unbearable. Completely unbearable. Even the scenes where the infected are released, it's still really intense because you have to take them out one by one. And
one bullet is going to wake them all up basically and send them to your area.
Acid throwing motherfuckers down there as well, because we haven't spoken about them yet, and they're a terrible enemy. They're terrible.
We saw them in the hotel just before this.
That's right. Awful enemy. I hated them. I can't see the point in them at all. Like, I get it. If it was a bigger risk if you get caught, then I get it. But where they're just like, you can't even stealth kill them. It was just
stealth kill them, but that's when you get the explosives out.
Yeah, it did nothing for me, that stuff.
It's just a different tactic. Yeah, I mean, I don't like
throwing acid at you gives them a little bit more like brain power than they deserve. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Makes them a little bit more intelligent than they should be.
Yeah, but I like the fact that when you killed them, they would also explode. So you had to get out of the way.
Why would you like that fact?
No, I liked it. It was different. It was like a different. Okay, you've got to be careful when you kill them.
Though, is it? It's just
it's different to all the other infected you have to fight.
Yeah, but I know, but not different in an interesting way. It's just
it's just
required out there now.
You to act different around them because, especially in a hotel when you and Lev are, going from floor to floor, you're like, okay, well, and there's one, but I think where one or maybe two arrive, and there's like, and you and Lev are trying to kill one. You're like, well, I need to shoot that, but also run out of the way because it's going to explode and get acid on me. And I thought that was like it was different to others. It required a different tactic to kill that.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It wasn't good. Different. That's the thing.
That enemy was another one of those ones that felt like it was a Resident Evil enemy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
It's definitely
it felt
more
a little
video
bit too.
gaming,
It didn't feel in line with everything else, did it? But anyway, like unlike the Stalkers, which were equal part hilarious and equal part horrific, because the amount of times I saw a Stalker looking through a window, and then scuttling off, it made me laugh a lot.
I mean, I hate the Stalkers more than the acid guys we just spoke about.
But the Stalkers make so much more sense, and there's so many indications with where they are, but it's all visual. You've got to look for them in a different way. I get that. What I don't get is, he's throwing acid at me now, and I can't.
I think you're right about having too much intelligence. Yeah, I think that does kind of break it. But with Stalkers, it's not like the clickers where they can't hear you, but they can. Sorry, they can't see you, but they can hear you. But Stalkers, I'm like, well, I guess I've just got to run away, but they're always there, and I didn't like them.
The most horrific bit with the Stalkers, while we're talking about enemies, was right near the end where you're in that cornfield leading up to the mansion, playing as Ellie, and there's loads of them in the sort of tall grass, and you really don't see. Like, I had one moment where I'm creeping forward, looking at an infected, and all of a sudden the stealth icon come up on the stealth kill icon come up on the screen, and I was like, what? I'm nowhere near an enemy. Press the button and she leans down and kills a stalker in the long grass, and I was like, oh my god, it was right next to me and I didn't even know it was there. That is horrible. And then from then on I was just watching the tips of the grass to see where they were moving, and that was fucking brilliant, that stuff. But yeah, not the worst enemy in the game. Worst enemy in the game is what they have called the Rat King.
So I've got a bit of feedback. I've got listener correspondence on this. We didn't ask for any, but someone messaged us, and it's probably a good time to read out now. So this is from Jack Lister. Well, actually, from Jack, but from Jack. Just listened to our latest episode, and Dave complained that the Rat King was a bad boss that didn't fit in with the rest of the game and had a weird name. While I can't disagree with you in the former, the latter does make sense. Rat Kings are an old wives' tale about groups of rats that live together in cramped conditions like sewer tunnels. Their tails would become entwined and stuck together and would eventually fuse. The rats would form one massive entity, moving together and devouring anything in their path. There are some examples in museums, but as far as I know, they're all fakes made by enterprising taxidermists. This is what's happened to the Rat King in the game. It's an extension of the infected merging into the walls. A group of infected have grown together into a horrifying mass of limbs and fused flesh. The in-game model can be viewed from the extras menu, and seeing it clearly while not trying to run away makes it really clear. It reminds me a lot of Inside.
Okay, all right, fair enough. That's interesting to know.
However,
there's worse things about this whole section than the name, and I will go through them now. First of all, the build-up to what I was going to see inside that room was so expertly done. Then when I saw it, I genuinely laughed out loud. I started laughing because it was one of those bigger infecteds with legs, knees sticking out. And I thought, I mean, obviously it's a load of infected sort of just mashed together, but the fact that it had just limbs sticking out of it made me laugh a lot.
Yeah, I guess the build-up's so good. I guess I thought it was going to be worse than it was.
I thought it was going to be bigger. I thought it was going to be really scary looking. Instead, it was just a bunch of limbs, as you say. It was like the thing from Inside, but my God, is it? I just thought it looked shit, and then that whole boss fight was awful.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was the absolute worst. That was.
In what way, James?
Well, in several ways. For starters, one-hit kill bosses have been a notably bad trope in action games forever. Forever. We've been saying this for years. One-hit kill enemies, fucking bullshit. You get anywhere near it, it grabs hold of you, it snaps your neck. Great. Okay, fine. Obviously, that monster would have the power to do it. So it works in context. In a gameplay sense, horrendous. Secondly, if you're going to give me a maze, a sort of area that feels like you're supposed to be running away from it, standing your ground, shooting, then running away again, don't make it all misty. Why was it all misty and pitch black?
Yeah.
It just
That
didn't
was
need to be
annoying.
that dark. It was like, so you kept getting lost in the area. You kept, like, you never really knew where it was.
I didn't get getting lost. I just did the same circle. I mean, I went to the exit door a few times thinking I can get through this. No, you can't. But the actual area wasn't that massive. Like, I just did.
No, it wasn't that
circles.
massive, but when you couldn't see where you were going, it was kind of like, okay, is this the room that I was just in, or is this not it? Like, what? And then, you know, if the mist and the not knowing where you were going was trying to add tension, it's pointless, because all the tension goes after the third time it grabs hold of you. All the tension completely drains out of that
it
fight.
Definitely wrecks out with multiple
I didn't feel
goes.
scared at all. I just thought, this is so fucking shit. Like, this is just a shit fight.
Yeah, I just felt irritation through most of it, especially in the beginning. I was never sure whether I should be running or I should be fighting or what I should be doing. And then that whole area down below, I never felt like, like where I knew where to go. I felt like I was just pumping tons of like ammunition and everything into it, and it didn't seem to be doing anything. It just was really irritating. And then he'd just lunge at you, grab you, and just, that was it.
Yeah, and then when the
try
thing
again.
breaks off of it, right, and now there's 2 enemies in that space, I was thinking, okay, go for the smaller enemy first, get rid of that, and then I can focus back on the big enemy. But I'm assuming you can't kill that small enemy, because that's another boss fight after that boss fight, isn't it?
You can't.
Yeah, well, there's no need to call me that, but I'm just, like, it's just, I'll always do that joke.
Yeah,
the thing is that it's just, like, it's confusing, it's a mess, I hated it, I didn't find, if the intention was to be scared of the thing, it didn't get that right, and if the intention was to have a really tense boss battle, it didn't get that right either,
I think it did, that second one.
Absolutely no way. The third time you get caught by it and killed, you're just like irritated.
I agree.
No tension.
I died. It must be like at least 10 times. So it definitely wrecked the immersion. But I was still nervous. 'Cause I'm like, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to like fire, go back. But with it being a tight area down there, in the basement of the hospital, and having to like sneak through like those gaps in the walls and stuff, and make sure you navigate your way around there without going to a dead end. That was where tension was, and the fact it was one hit kill.
No, it wasn't. The tension just completely goes.
No, because I was still like struggling to do it, so I was tense to make sure I did it. Like that, I wasn't, and I don't like being chased.
That was just being annoying.
Also, the other thing that is really irritating is that, like switching weapons in this game, if things, like how you have like the packs so that you can have 2 guns at a time, but then because you had to like use so much ammunition to kill this thing, you also had to switch often to other guns as well. And it's really difficult to do that when you're running away as well, because of the way it's set up. That annoyed me a lot. I found that.
Did any of you had to like craft on the fly? I mean, I didn't, thankfully, but I was really low.
Not in that area, no. No,
See,
I had to craft a few times in combat scenarios, but
but not in that.
Yeah.
See, I really think what they should have done with that whole thing is, I don't think we ever had to see it. I really don't think we did.
My text messages that I sent
That's
you.
What
That's
I said.
Annoying. No, it isn't.
You listen. I was the one who first suggested this.
No,
you go back and have a look.
I will.
You go back and have a look.
I will do, because I said to you, imagine that scene.
Let's have a look. I'm looking back now.
Where you make it out without ever having seen it.
No chance. I definitely said this first before you did.
Okay, well,
I'm certain.
While you're checking messages, it would definitely be better that way. I mean, me having to do it multiple times, it wrecked it wrecked the tension, but I was still, I don't like being chased. It was an intense battle that I just wanted to get through it. I didn't like it down there. I was scared. I mean, like just before that boss, when
I don't know how you can be scared after A, seeing it, and B,
because I was getting chased, and it was intense. There was no real time to like muck up or to I felt like I had to do it perfectly, because
where's
I'll be smashed.
The tension is
killed.
just I want to get out of this really shit boss fight.
Well, I want to get out of it. I just didn't want to be there. It was tense and scary, and I hated it.
It was terrible. It was a terrible part of the game, and in my mind, That never happened. Now, I'm not one of these people that is going to go, well, this destroyed the game for me. It didn't destroy the game. It didn't even destroy the hospital area of the game because the hospital was superb up until that point. But the better way of dealing with this scenario was hearing that thing in that room, the way that you hear it, when you go near that wall and you hear that sort of, you hear it in there, getting the medicine and getting the fuck out of there. Because the fear of going, there is something horrific in that hospital, is way better than the shit boss fight and seeing it. Way better.
Why? I mean, I didn't think it was shit, but I think it would have been better to not have it. And I agree with everything you just said there. Yeah, amazing tension up to there. I was horrendously scared for most of it, but it would have been better without it. Like, why did Naughty Dog insist on having these boss battles? I had one with that.
That's what I'm saying. It just felt like Bill.
The first one.
It felt like Bill. You know what I mean? It felt like that part of the game. Really didn't. I don't know why they had to have this in there. It was just odd, just really odd. I don't know how it made it into the game.
It wasn't needed in the first game with that one in the gym. It wasn't needed here. It's just weird, really.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's shit. I don't think they should have removed it. I just think
I 100
could have improved it. I just thought. I mean, I didn't like it because it was very intense.
It wasn't intense at all. It wasn't intense at all. There was no tension there.
It was for me.
There was just nothing there. It was just. I just thought I want this bit to be over now because it's so shit, and I was thankful that the sort of mini boss after that was nowhere near as shit. I mean, it wasn't great, but.
For me, that was scarier than like a Resident Evil game. That makes Nemesis seem like a piece of piss. Like I just before I got to the boss, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning at that point. I was like, I pretty should stop. But I was like, if I stop now, I'm not sure I'm going to have the balls to turn it back on. So I had to get through it. I had to get through there because I didn't want to think, oh, Last of Us 2. Oh no, I've got that horrible bit in the hospital. So I just had to get rid of it. I had to get it done. It was way too much.
One shot kill bosses are shit. Always. Just awful.
Fact.
James, have you found out that I sent you that message first?
I found it, and you're wrong. I did.
Go on.
There you go. I've just put it in the WhatsApp. Have a look at that.
Well, let's read out for listeners. Go on.
So, David says, it was so shit, and the monster looked terrible, all that amazing build-up. And then I said, yeah, I think it would have been better if they just hinted at it, perhaps with a brief escape, but no show of the monster, rather than what we got. And then you said, I laughed when I finally saw it. Just a blister, but things sticking out.
Any response?
Yeah, okay. Right, okay. So I apologise, but I clearly didn't even register your message there. I probably didn't even read it. Because I was frantic.
Come on.
No, well, I didn't reply to you. I laughed when I finally saw it. Just a blister, but with things sticking out.
Hang on. I'll read a bit lower down. Let's see if there's any more detail.
So later on, does Dave say, you know what would be great is if it was hinted but you didn't actually see it?
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
He didn't mention it.
Dave, that's how you respond to messages. Loads of us write in a group and you don't respond. You just put your own thing in there. That's
because I'm a narcissist, Matt. We've been through this. I don't care what you've got to say. I'm only asking you questions so I can give my opinion.
All we know is
that's how it works.
James said it first.
Okay. All right. Well, I apologise, James, but I definitely didn't register that and had the same fault.
And you probably had the same fault before you did.
Almost definitely, Matt. You learn him well. So then, you get out of the hospital. You take Yara back. She has her operation. She loses her arms. Her arm, sorry.
Single arm.
And Lev heads off to talk to his mum because we find out that Lev was born female, but obviously it identifies as a male, and dealing with that in their religion is clearly a huge problem. But he still wants to see his mum, right? Like the whole idea was that they were going to go off to this supposed, new community that was going to be a new way of life for them all. But Lev wanted to have that final confrontation with his mum, and you and Yara chase after him to the island. That's right, isn't it?
Yep. It is, yeah.
That island was fantastic. That whole area was fantastic. Getting over there, finding Lev again. I didn't expect Lev to be alive, to be quite honest with you. I thought that was going to be the impact, but
no, because at the same time you're going off to to get Lev, knowing that he's gone to the island. That's also the same time where is it Jacob? Is that the other Jacob's like sent all like the men to the island as well?
Isaac sent the wolves.
So there's lots of things happening at once, and you're there to try and get Lev, whilst also, Abby's wolves are also there to.
It feels like it's certainly building to a set piece, and what a set piece.
Yeah, they're just committing genocide, aren't they? Basically,
they are. Yeah. I mean, long story short, you find Lev with his mum, and his mum's dead. Lev killed her accidentally.
I don't know. I don't think it was accidentally.
I think it was.
They got into confrontation with each other.
They got into a confrontation, and he pushed her, and she fell over and smacked her head. I think that was how it was told to you by Lev. Whether it was implied that something more serious happened there, I don't think it was. But yeah, then we have the incredible escape scene from the island. What a set piece this is. What a set piece. Finding that horse, getting away, the whole island's burning around you, constantly bumping into wolves that know who you are as Abby, fighting them off. That's when you realise that Abby has literally no intention in going back to the wolves and living her life with them. It was a lot was happening in terms of character development from this whole thing, and nothing more serious than when Isaac discovers Abby, and Abby tries to protect Lev, and Isaac points the gun at Abby. I mean, that whole, it felt like there was so much character development and character arcs going off on this whole area. And the biggest surprise for me was when Yara dies. Because I think
it happens all sort of suddenly, doesn't it? Really, like
it did, and because you spent so long trying to
save her, and then they went through the whole thing where she lost her arm, and all of a sudden now she's dead. It's like all of that work, and she's still died. It was utterly heartbreaking for Lev, and then like the fact you just had to go because you were getting chased and you had to get off the island because it was burning as well. It was really sad.
And also, it's this point as well. I mean, okay, it's been throughout the whole game, like woven into this like idea that none of these groups have got the answer at all. Like none of these communities have really got the answer to how to exist, like in this new world.
No, and it all ends up at war. Like that's the sadness, you know.
And what you learn is that it's the friendships that they make, with each other. Yeah, that is, that are the glue that are keeping people going forward.
Yeah, and it's with that line where. You are my people. Like that was.
Oh yeah, that was an amazing line, amazing section. Yeah,
it's like
it's your people. No, you're my people, Lev.
Yeah, and it's
beautiful.
not. You're my people. I'm now a. Why can I never remember the actual name of
Seraphites?
Jesus,
they have been called Scars.
Yeah, I know, but I keep calling them Scars because it's easier to remember. But yeah, she's not
such a bloody wolf.
No, I'm as
you would definitely have been a wolf, David.
Definitely. Yeah.
I'd probably be a wolf. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Not like I'd be working in the canteen. I'm not strong enough or brave enough to be out there.
I would be a rattler. I'd be a rattler.
Matt, don't say that.
Well, I mean, there was a joke.
The worst of people. I know, but even just saying that, it's like...
I know.
I'd be a racist. That's basically what you said. Anyway, so you escape from the island. I mean, the scene where you're on the horse, like that whole chase thing is just
with
wonderfully
all the buildings on fire. It looks stunning.
This game does this a hell of a lot, where it looks like you could go anywhere, but it still manages to funnel you to where the game wants you to go. And that really shows during this scene, because it really does look so open when you're riding on that horse. It's not you're not riding down a corridor. There's several different ways you can go, but they all end up in the same place. And that's why it feels so dynamic, this escape scene, really. It feels like you're doing your own thing, but really, there was that scene in Uncharted 4 where it's a similar thing, isn't it? Where you're driving, aren't you? You're on a buggy, and it feels like, oh my god, no matter where I'm going, it feels like I'm going off road, but somehow I'm still going the right way. And that's, they carry that stuff over to this really well.
I did loads of this island, obviously before that escape on foot, but when you get there, loads of it in like just pure stealth. I was like taking the guys out in like the field and like in the cornfield. Like there must have been so many bodies in the cornfield where I was like sneak around, wait for them to go in like the cornfield, grab them, drag them in, kill them, and I thought that was so well done.
It was really cool. I managed to get behind like pretty much every group and attack, because a lot of them, they're just standing there watching the sort of entrance area. So I managed to take them off one by just getting behind them straight away and then working my way back towards the start of that level. Was great.
There's like the massive area just before you get to like the mum's like hut, and I like went round to the left. I went round like everywhere, and then I went basically almost where I was at the beginning, and I thought if I went right, I could basically go to the exit. But I'd gone for the whole thing, snuck round, killed everyone. I was like, where do I go? I mean, the one of the criticisms I do have about this game is that it wasn't always clear in those areas where to go. There wasn't like, I mean, maybe I could have pressed something or had like an accessibility thing where it would like give me a direction, like an arrow or something.
Yeah,
where
it does.
To go.
You can turn that on.
Like,
I used that once in this game, and that's
the whole
the
like
end.
click in L3 and it'll give you a hint thing.
Yeah. It doesn't just give you a hint. It gives us a massive arrow that points you to the direction you're supposed to walk.
I didn't have that, but I did like the whole hint thing once accidentally. But like, because I think at that point they're like, yeah, we've got to go to where the big tower, because it was like the huge.
It was the, what they call it, the what they call those things.
It's like the huge Seattle Tower, isn't it? I can't remember.
But there's a special name for that type of build. They got one in Vegas, haven't they? I can't remember the name of it now. Space something.
They're like, okay, we've got to make our way there, and I was like,
Space Needle.
I couldn't quite exactly where. After you saw it that first time, when I was in the tall grass, I was like, I think it's over this direction, but I don't know where. I can't see it now, and there wasn't a map to say, okay, it's over in this direction. So I got a lot of that, but I was like, where do I go? But I just went around the whole map again and eventually found it. But
oh shit! And we missed out the sniper battle. There's a sniper battle on this in this area as well, right? That's where you get the sniper is on one end of the bridge, and you're slowly moving towards them.
Yeah.
Now I assume I played this on one notch down below default, right? I assume that this might be frustrating if you were playing on the harder settings, because there's so many moments where it feels like you're supposed to be behind cover at all times, but there's bits where you have to dash, and if you get killed instantly by one shot, that would have fucking done me in. I would have got so pissed off.
It wasn't quite one shot, but it might have been two. Yeah, I died loads. And then when you're making your way towards the sniper, it's also when like infected start appearing as well. So you can't just hide, because you've got to deal with them whilst keeping out of the way of the thing. Yeah.
Who was the sniper?
It was Tommy, wasn't it?
It was Tommy, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. We had an argument about this, James. Was it you that?
Not an argument. We're not an argument. We just I wasn't sure who it was, because I felt like I only had like a brief glimpse at his face, and I wasn't sure if it was him or not. And then I thought, what if it was him?
No, it's before you get to the island, isn't it? It's as you're heading to the island.
Yeah.
When is this bit?
I mean, it's you and Manny, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, I must have missed that bit. Yeah, but the whole bit was really good, really tense, and it looked great.
It's just that light. Seeing that light was horrifying, wasn't it? Really, every time you got caught.
But I did die a lot. I felt a bit trial and error in some aspects.
See, I didn't die at all in this area. I'd have been frustrated if I did, but yeah, I suppose knocking it down was made it
too easy,
that much easier.
But no, it was cool. It's a cool section.
All right, sorry, yeah. So that happens before you get to the island. So we're way past after that now. Anyway, right. So yeah, Yara dies. Aquarium, discover Owen and Mel. That's where you discover the dog as well, dead. That you're supposed to have the impact with. Head off to find Ellie. You find
going back there because you knew what you're going to see.
Yeah, you find Ellie because she left the map there.
Yeah,
which at the time
I said, "What are you doing leaving the map there?"
Yeah, it was a bit strange.
Did you twig?
No, not at the time. Not when I don't remember her leaving the map there.
Yeah,
but when they picked it up, I was like, why was that
they're
there?
going to know where you are if you leave that, and also you're not going to know where to go with that map left. And then
I suppose she was having a complete meltdown at that time, though.
Yeah, but at that point she was just like, "Yeah, I'm done with this.
Yeah,
I need to leave."
Yeah. So you catch up to the point in the theatre where Jesse gets shot, Tommy's on the floor, he eventually gets shot in the head. This is what it feels like the whole game's been leading up to, right?
Yeah. You feel like this is the end. You've worked your way back from Seattle day 1 to back to day 3 with Abby. This is the finale.
You then have this is a really important moment for Abby. Really important. You have the boss battle with Ellie, which is absolutely superb. And did you die in this boss battle, Matt?
I don't. I can't remember. I don't. Think
if you did,
I mean,
there's a tip screen. You know the tip screen when the game's loading again.
Yeah.
There's one that specifically says, don't attack Ellie from the front. Make sure that you creep up behind her. Totally intentional to put her name in there because it really does make you think, I thought I was playing as Ellie throughout this whole game, and here's a tip screen on how to beat her as a boss. Like
really?
That, yeah, that's like real, like flips it on you. Really highlights the fact of what you're actually doing here. You're fighting against Ellie. She is a boss. In the same way that you fought against the cannibal in the first game. Yeah. I mean, it's beautifully mirrored, really well done. You finally beat Ellie, and then there's that scene where you've got Dina in your arms with a knife across her neck. Ellie tries to save Dina by saying she's pregnant, and Abby shouts out, "Good," and then goes to cut her neck before she sees Lev.
Right, Lev says no, yeah.
And then that's the moment. That's the moment for Abby, where Abby goes, "This is too far. This is not the person I want to be. This is not the life that I want to live. This is not what I want to do." And that's where it's gone for her. Everything.
That bit is so powerful.
Yeah, really powerful.
Let's go back to. Can we go back to your boss battle? Did you like it as well, James?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I died quite a few times doing it, and the way that you die in that is horrible, particularly the part with the shotgun. But I did feel it was very well paced, that section. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember dying, but it did feel a bit like I wasn't 100% sure exactly what to do. Like, do I, But I liked it because it was quite different from any other sort of boss fight I've played in other games. It wasn't about just all out fighting.
Well, I mean,
especially
the cannibal
because even
from
before,
the first one,
when you're at the backstage of the theatre, it felt a bit creepy and weird with all of the props and the mannequins and stuff. And even back then, I was thinking it feels like a bit of a waste of an area if I'm just like going bombing through it to get to Dina or to go out on a mission. And obviously, that's when you really utilise that area, when you're having the boss battle, when you're sneaking up. Sneaking up on Ellie.
There was also one moment when I genuinely thought Abby was going to kill her. When she was strangling her. Yeah, and I just thought, I thought it really looked like this is going to be it. She's going to be dead. This is
the end, yeah. It really felt like that.
I didn't quite know how I was going to end that, but yeah, you're totally right there, James. But yeah, and then the cutscene, it's just so immensely powerful. Yeah, when she said, she's pregnant. And she's like, good. And it's like, fucking hell.
And you know why she says good as well, don't you? Because of Mel.
Because of Mel.
Yeah. It's like, this is the perfect revenge. But then, she realises she's got a new purpose in life. And that's her and Lev. And fucking superbly done. Like, superbly done. Fantastic stuff. And then we fast forward.
I don't think she realises at that point she has a new purpose in life. I think that she just has cherished her time with. I think she's just seeing Lev is enough to stop. I don't think at that point she's new. I don't think she realises quite the significance of that moment until maybe later. Obviously, Lev saying no, she didn't want to do it in front of Lev and so on and so forth. But I don't think she's instantly oh yeah, I have a new purpose. I am here to look after Lev. I didn't see that for her
not
at
to
that
look
point.
After Lev.
It wasn't until we get to the late stages, which we'll discuss in a bit.
Yeah, it's not to look after Lev. That's not what I'm saying. It's just
to take him.
She has found her people. That's that it's a call back to that line. That's the moment where she realises that she can't lose Lev. because she's lost Owen.
Yeah.
She's lost all her friends.
I think you're right. Yeah.
This is it
See,
now.
I'm not even sure it was that much. I think it was just a case of I'm not doing this. I'm not going to murder. Like this has got to stop.
Hold on, she's been murdering non-stop throughout the whole fucking game, James. Like there's more to it than that. There's way more to it than that.
I think at that moment, I don't think it is as significant. It's more to, like Lev is saying no, and she's like, okay, no, but it's not like I have a new purpose now. I mean, that I don't think it's as significant then. It feels more significant now, and actually, the significance of their relationship only increases massively as we get to the final stretch of the game.
The only time you see them together after that is on the crosses. There's no build up or
they're together. It's like I don't know.
Well, no, it's not just on the crosses. It's also the whole section where you're with Lev as well, like going through before then. When you're trying to find the fireflies, because it's pretty clear they're trying to work together to try and find the fireflies.
There's not much exploration. No, for me, the moment was when she said, "You are my people." When she stood in front of Isaac to protect her, that was the biggest commitment in their relationship, right?
Yeah. Well, that was massive, yeah.
And she knows she's been through that story with her mum, and she was there when they discovered her on the island. And just one look at Lev, she realised that, no, I have a reason to live. I have my people again. She's lost all of her friends through Ellie. She's lost a relationship with Owen before that. Certainly her relationship with Mel. All of that stuff had gone. She had nothing to live for, and then she found Lev. I think that relationship was so important, and not so much of I need to protect you, although you could look at it as a mirror of Joel and Ellie, right? That was her meeting her Ellie. I think that is really important, and I think that is why she didn't kill, because she could see what it would do to it. She didn't want to push Lev away. But anyway.
Amazing scene.
We then go to the farm, and there's a great section where you get to see Ellie's life after. Ellie and Dina are raising the child. And
at this point, I was like, okay, credits will roll any second now. This is it.
Yeah, it did feel like an end point, didn't it?
I think then you can see that Ellie's clearly living with post-traumatic stress disorder, where she's getting flashbacks. She goes into a dark barn. She could see Joel, see the murder all over again, and that scene was horrible, man. Because when the baby was crying because she was screaming, being a parent, you don't know that feeling, but you know how horrible that would look from the outside.
Yeah, added a lot having, what was it, little JJ in her arms when she was going through that.
It was horrible.
But it's just so idyllic before that, the farm, that they spoke about having a farm, I think maybe when in the weed farm or some other place, like they spoke about, what would you do, I'll have a farm, and they joked about that. So actually when you realise, oh no, they got it, they got their dream in the end.
Yeah.
And it's like a beautiful like sunset or sun setting, and it's like, I'll me and JJ will go, put the sheep in the barn or whatever it was. It was really, really gorgeous, sort of idyllic, perfect ending. Or so I thought at that point.
and then if Ellie is immune from infection, we find out Tommy's immune from weapons.
I know.
Yeah,
that was a big shock, because I thought, I was like, wasn't he shot in the head?
I rolled my eyes at that. I was kind of like, he got shot in the back of the head in the middle of nowhere. How the fuck did he survive? Who gave him treatment? Surely he would have bled out within seconds while Ellie and Abby were fighting. Like, why is he back now with a funny eye? And it's like, okay. And he walks in and goes, come on, I've found her. Let's go get her.
Yeah,
and,
you? I mean, you've got a cane or whatever it was, and a fucked up face. But I was like, you were definitely dead. And I was like, is Jesse also going to turn up in a minute?
Real bullshit. Real bullshit, that. I think.
Well, the trouble is they didn't have anybody else, apart from Tommy, that they could really bring in to serve that role, did they? Because there was nobody else that seemed to be close enough to Joel that would have cared
that
apart
that
from
much.
Tommy.
Yeah.
And so it had to be him. But then, it didn't work in terms of the fact that he really looked very dead, like in that hotel. It's
in the theatre.
It was ridiculous.
Sorry, theatre,
it was ridiculous. So anyway, you get told that Abby's been found, and Ellie decides to go and hunt her down again.
I mean, when he turned up and said, "Here we go," I was saying, "Nah, don't, no, do not do this. Like, you've got a happy ending. You're both there. You're both alive. You're both healthy. Reasonably so. You've got little JJ. It is JJ, isn't it?
Yeah, JJ. Because apparently it stands for.
You've got a perfect life.
You
do not need to do this. And then,
do you know why JJ is significant?
Joel and
Jesse.
Joel and Jesse, yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Maybe we can come back to this scene. Do you reckon?
Well, what can we do? We can do it now, can't we?
Because it kind of ties into the ending for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the ending, really. Like in that you've got this scene, and then you've got what happens for like another 10 hours or whatever, like afterwards. Was it 10 hours? No, it wasn't.
5 hours.
It was like 2.
About 5 hours or so. You got another like 3 or 4, 5 hours or whatever.
You got 7 days.
Like next, and yeah. But it's like, but okay, because I know you see we've got very different opinions on this, David, and I mean you might as well just say what you think about this.
No. If we're going to come back to the scene, then let's come back to the scene.
Yeah, we'll come back to the scene because let's get the rattlers out of the way. So you then play as Abby again. You play as Abby again. You find the fireflies, the ex-fireflies, and where they are in Santa Barbara.
It's Santa Barbara, yeah.
Santa Barbara, yeah.
You finally discover where they
are.
And
Lev, which is great.
You finally find out where the ex-fireflies are, and then you get attacked by the rattlers, or you get captured by the rattlers.
Hang on, this is something I wondered though. That whole radio conversation, was that all just fake?
No.
Like as a trap?
No.
Or was it real?
Why would it be a trap?
Well, it could be
a
the
trap
rattlers.
from the people that then attack you when you come out of the building.
Yeah, but then why would they... They're not supposed to be... They tell them where they are. Why would they do that whole elaborate scam to just batter them as they're walking out of the building?
Well, no, maybe they would like... they saw them go in, or I don't know. But
they saw them go in,
it was...
and they just wait for them to come back out, surely.
Because I wasn't sure whether the fireflies really... Whether that was real,
well,
whether they really are still existing.
So I've heard that question before, and if you look at the end of the game, you know where there's usually the menu is usually a boat, right?
Yeah.
Or just on some water. After you complete the game, that same menu is that boat, but outside of Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they made it there. I don't think there's any question that's all legit.
We know because the start menu changes. We know they got to Santa Barbara in the end. But yeah, I was totally with you, James. I was like, well, this could be anyone on the other end of the radio. Like, I wasn't 100% sure if because Owen kept saying,
but they clearly knew who her dad was.
That they existed, but sorry,
they clearly knew who her dad was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
but that's the thing though. All the questions they asked, none of them would actually have indicated that they actually knew any of that. They could have been...
You've been scammed too many times on the telephone by scam callers, James. That's what it is. Could we have your password, please? Hold on. How do I know that you work for NatWest?
Okay, instead of your password, sir, give me your mother's maiden name and name of your first pet. And we'll go from there.
No, I think that was all legit. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
I do think it's legit now, but at the time I was like, hang on, don't say too much.
Because it all felt too good to be true as well.
Yeah, it's happened too easy.
Nah, not with you. They walk out, they get battered. We meet the rattlers, who... It annoys me because every faction seems so complex, but that one didn't. And that was the last faction we see. And it was kind of oh, great.
Yeah, I think I said
this is why I said I felt like this. You see, I really felt that this section was necessary, but I felt that the rattlers are put in there because they needed an enemy for this section.
They needed harder enemy, yeah. You wouldn't feel right. You wouldn't feel right killing. I'm gonna say the scars. You wouldn't feel right killing the wolves. It needed a new enemy that you didn't mind killing, so it made them the horrible, racist, arseholes, the slave owners, the type that keep infected within their base but chained up for entertainment. You know, that it was like,
well, it's that kind of
trope.
like, we don't need you to think about whether these people are good or bad or not. They're definitely bad. So just
definitely.
Just kill them. It's
Yeah,
fine.
and we
There's
need
just
them
such
to
a
be
one-note
harder.
enemy,
So.
and I think I might have said in the main show that they're like when you go into the encampments in Far Cry, it's just loads of guys in bandanas saying they're over here. And it's just like a one-note, boring enemy. That, I mean, yeah, they needed someone. Definitely, James, 100% agree. And I can see why they did it, because with the other factions, there was like layers. You know, like, well, you know, what their desires, what they've been through. Whereas here, you're totally right, James. It's just like these guys are shits. Here's why they're shits. There's no
Also,
layers.
when you get
There's no ambiguity there.
into the base, are you really telling me that there's a base where every single person in the base has armor and weapons on them 24/7? Like, we didn't see a side of it where there were just people that weren't patrolling that area, and there was fucking tons of them. Like, they overdid it with enemies in that area. I think it just got a bit like, oh, fucking hell. Especially because I played so much of the game really slowly, really sort of picking people off and, you know, all that sort of stuff. When you get to that area, it's like, there's not even a place that I can sneak off to hide for a bit, because there's so many enemies. It was.
This was the point where I just went full on violent at this point, and was just like,
I feel like it forces you to. I mean, I also did mostly stealth, but I did the most amount of shooting in the game in this one last section. I think I did more, and that's because before I was stealthily doing stuff, and I tried to do some stuff stealthily, but it clearly is forcing you to be different.
You had to fight them. Okay, so let's get to this then. Okay, so you release the prisoners. I will say this about that area: I did like releasing the infected on them. That was great.
Mm-hmm.
You must have done that, right?
I don't know if I did do that.
Oh my god, there's a bit where it completely sets it up, like right at the start, and then later on there's quite a few infected in that sort of like little arena bit, and you just sneak in there.
They're all chained up, aren't they? And you can get them,
set them all off, and watch them just attack everyone.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, they're on the chains. You go up to the bottom of the chain, and there's a prompt. You press triangle.
Oh, I never did that.
Yeah,
I never got close enough.
Fucking great. Because they just run around. You just hear all the people freaking out that the infected have been let loose or whatever. So right, you do that. You release the prisoners that they're holding there, and they tell you that Abby is on the beach. You head to the beach. There's that incredible looking area, like it's horrific, but looks incredible. With these people on crucifix, they're being crucified on the beach for, well, I assume trying to escape.
Well, they're just on, they're on stakes. Aren't they?
Yeah. You release Abby. Abby releases Lev. You make it to the boats. And
they're both absolutely fucked because they've been there for days, and Abby's had her hair cut off, and it just looks so horrendous.
You fight Abby. Abby doesn't want to fight. You hold your knife to Lev's neck to try and convince Abby to fight you. You have a fight. You go to drown her, and then Abby finally has a moment of mercy and lets Abby and Lev go. Sorry, Ellie has her moment of mercy and lets Abby and Lev go. And that is not quite the end.
At one point, Ellie wasn't going to fight them, but it's just that they both, after releasing them, all of them walked down to the beach, and there's like two boats, and Ellie went towards one boat, and Abby put Lev on another one, and they were starting to almost about to leave, and then Ellie sort of thought, no, hang on, fuck this, I need to end this now, and then she sort of flipped and said, no, we're fighting.
She has the flashback to Joel, doesn't she?
That's
laying on the ground.
And then she's like, no, this has to end now.
It's like, I've got to do this, this has got to be done. But then, obviously, then she starts doing the drowning, but then she has another flashback to Joel of like playing the guitar, and that was the point where it's like, well, she doesn't want to. It's like she lost that second chance, and maybe she doesn't want to do this to somebody else. It's to like live a different life.
Okay, so
enough's enough.
We go back to the farm. Dina has left the farmhouse that they'd been living in previously. That's completely empty and cleared out.
Yeah, it's hard to work out the time scale because it not only was it empty, but it looked fucked up.
Yeah, it
so
really did, didn't it?
I wonder how long they've been away.
Yeah, no, yeah. That was a bit strange, but whatever. I didn't want to dwell on that too much. Then there's that scene, the final scene that you see with it's kind of Ellie and Joel's final moment together. After the party, Ellie confronts Joel about a few things. And there's that completely heartbreaking line where Joel asks, what was it? Will you forgive me or something like that? And then Ellie says, I'd like to try.
Yeah, it's like, no, but I'd like to try.
Yeah, punch the gut.
Yeah, this is like this is the second chance.
Yeah,
that,
we have a future, but not right now. And yeah, really perfect scene.
It was amazing to see that because again, like that was the one in the first trailer, and I was like, here's finally the barn scene, and this is like, I mean, at the time I didn't know, but now you realise that was like one of the last things you see in the entire game, and yet we saw that in the trailer way back when you saw Jesse obviously alive because this is in the past, and Dina and you see the scene with like the bigger, the stuff that was discussed right at the beginning of the game. You finally see what happened in that. It was an amazing scene.
And then you get to see Ellie playing that song on the guitar, or trying to, because she's lost 2 fingers now in the fight with
after Abby bit them. Yeah,
and then she walks off.
That was heartbreaking.
What, her trying to play guitar?
Well, yeah, like because
I don't think it's as heartbreaking
just
as
another reminder of her trying, things going too far and like her life being affected forever. That reminded me in a small way of like the bit of the end of Requiem for a Dream. If you guys have seen that.
I've not.
With Jared Leto. Have you seen that film?
No.
Oh, it's absolutely... okay, well, it's a stunning film. But it reminded me a bit of that. And I was like, yeah, it's like, that's such a small thing. Oh, yeah, he lost 2 fingers. But it's like, it's just, her life has just changed forever.
I thought the fact that she returned
song
to an empty house was more impactful, to be honest.
I don't know. That was just... after all she's been through, now she can't even play the guitar, which was used to like connect her and Joel. Like she can't play that song. She can't. She can't do that thing that they used to love together. It like that was a small thing I thought, but it was heartbreaking to me.
I mean, it was tough to watch. Very tough to watch. She puts down the guitar and then leaves, and that's when the credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she starts walking somewhere.
Now, all I'll say, right, is that I think the way it wraps up the themes and the way it wraps up the characters in terms of where they're at is just about as good as it gets, right? I can't see how they can improve that. The thing I had a slight, not a question over, but I don't see why they had to meet again to get those points across. And my point, okay, well, we'll get to that, but my point was that if we're having this whole experience around this one area and building up...
Oh,
sorry, my home hub didn't understand. What the craziness is that they've worked up to this big central point, this big area, this big moment where these 2 characters meet. It's so impactful and so important and works so well that it felt like we didn't need an extra bit plus another fight between the 2 characters. Like, it kind of felt like Ellie had lost all humanity at that point. Then to suddenly get it back in that one moment was a bit odd for me. If there was a real strong moment, I didn't feel it while I was playing it. And it just felt like, why are we doing this again? It just kind of felt like a bit...
why?
Like, hold on. If the point was she had everything and she had an out, and she was still willing to go against that to hunt down Abby, that's fine. Okay, that's an okay point to make, but it's been made several times throughout this game. Why did it need to be made again?
But it hasn't. That's the point. Because the thing is... No, it hasn't, because the battle between Abby and Ellie in the theatre, that ends because Abby ends it, not because Ellie does.
Yeah,
Ellie doesn't end that. It's she's laying on the floor. She's in no position to do anything anyway, and Abby lets her go basically at that point because she has the upper hand. I strongly feel that last section is needed because, for me, this game is about the idea that you can be so consumed with rage by something. You can be so sort of affected. Your entire life can be so affected by something like this that you can't just end something just through an encounter like that. It still stays with you. It still gnaws at you, which is why you got that whole section in the farm, where she has like PTSD, pretty clearly.
Yeah.
It's still fucking her over and everything. And that's the point where she obviously realizes when Tommy comes back that she has to do something to try and quiet this voice. Quiet and end this, the PTSD that she's feeling. And she thinks that the way she can do this is by killing Abby. That she's got to do that because that's the only way it's going to be solved. So that's why she goes through, still trying to kill her, towards the end. It's only at the end when, she has that other flashback to Joel that she, with him playing the guitar, that I think she realises that this is still not going to give her.
But she's been in this position before, where she could have walked away, and she.
Well, when? Because there's in the theatre, Abby had the upper hand.
In the theatre, when she's looking at Dina with the knife to her neck, she doesn't. You're telling me that moment there of holy shit, I can't see how this can go forward. Like, why?
But that's not her making a decision. That's Abby.
Yeah, she's not making that decision. No, she's not in a position to make that decision.
What I'm saying, my point is this, right? Is not that these points that you're raising here are all valid, and I agree with them, and they're points that should have been made, right? What I'm saying is that could have all been done at that massive, pivotal moment. Rather, I'm not saying roll credits after that scene. Keep the scene exactly the same and roll credits. I'm not saying that at all. That's not my point. My point is that scene could have been done in a way where we have this massive moment for both characters and it would have been more impactful.
No, but that's the point. Is that the point I'm trying to make with this is it's that in life and in general, you don't have a massive moment that just ends it like that. It's even if you think that this is finished, it still goes on. You still carry that with you, like after this, and that's what happened to Ellie.
Right?
Even though
understood. But couldn't you just continue to say that after this scene that you've just seen? Couldn't you continue to say that she had a moment of weakness there, but she could just go back and try and kill her again?
No, because I don't think that would make the same point. Like, the point with this is it's trying to make the point that even like all those years later, you still have this. Like, it's still something which is eating you, like, inside. And it's still something which it's something that Ellie feels that she's never going to be free of.
Yeah,
hence all the PTSD.
Even her letting Abby and Lev go, it doesn't mean it's over, but it means that she's had her opportunity to feel at that moment that she could have ended it. She didn't have that at the theatre because that was Abby's opportunity to end it, but she didn't.
But no, again,
and she did all that to get
this
there.
Is not what I'm saying. This is you're missing the point, right? What I'm saying is not that's. I'm saying that scene should have been changed to deal with both of those motives. I'm not saying that scene should stay the same and the credits roll. I'm saying that those motives should be wrapped up at that point. I don't see then why we should have seen afterwards, and because it just seems a bit like, why have they got to meet again? Like, we've had the moment with them
to try and show
so impactful.
Because it's to try and show that this is something that will continue and it will go on for years potentially.
But then she stops. So why does she stop? So either it continues or it doesn't.
Because she gets to the point at that point where she can kill Abby, where she realises this is not it. This is not actually what she wants to do. What is the right thing?
But that moment could have been made.
No, because it has to be a long period of time to demonstrate that this is something that she can't let go.
James, right? Yeah, what I'm saying is that the point of that scene where she doesn't kill Abby, right? So are you saying that is the moment where she realises that she can let go?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I'll disagree with that. I realise, I think at that point, it's more like she realises this isn't going to bring Joel back. This isn't going to fix anything by killing Abby. Like, and she's had to go through that, and it won't be over. This will never be over for her. But if she realises at that point, it's not going to bring her happiness. It's not going to end it. It's not going to bring Joel back. And that's why she just thinks, "I'll just get out." And
but wouldn't you rather have that point be made at the height of the fucking plot?
Because Abby had that.
No, because it's got to show that it doesn't look. It's not. Okay, this is not like with life is not like a neat point where you're like, okay, we've both had a fight with each other, we both realise we're wrong, let's just, let's not do this anymore.
So all they've done is taken that and put that over 2 fights, James. That's
exactly.
Yes, I know, that's the whole point, because it's trying to show. No, but that's the whole point. It's trying to show that it can take like years after that that people still live with this pain and people still have this. It's not done and dusted in one area, and it can't be because it's the trauma lives forever.
They could have made that point without them having to meet and have another fight. They could have made that point, and it would have been more impactful.
They could have done it. They could have done it without another fight, because one of the things that I think could have been interesting is, when she goes there and she finds them up on those stakes, it would have been interesting if she'd have found Abby there dead or something like that, to then to show that all of this has been a waste, like all this anger and hate that she's had for all this time, it's been a complete waste, for her to live like that. Instantly way more impactful. That they could have done that. That would have worked. But I still strongly believe that you need that time after that fight to demonstrate that this is something which she's going to have to live with, and that she's living with for a long period of time.
I accept that point. I think my major problem was that we went through another fight and it mirrored so closely that first fight that I kind of thought, this is totally losing its emotional impact.
But no, because this is Ellie's. Ellie was winning this one. She lost that first one.
Okay, but it's lost that emotional impact because it's such a repetition. In the first fight, we had that with Abby. In the second fight, we're having the same thing with Ellie.
Exactly. So she's, again, it's like a second revenge. Revenge just like first fight, let alone all the revenge for killing Joel.
Yeah, but don't you think that kind of loses the impact and the tension of two characters meeting?
No, because this is like totally different circumstances. In that first one, Abby had been, she's absolutely ripped. She's basically, it feels like training for this whole moment in that theatre to get to Ellie. In the second one, Ellie's like more war torn, been through so much, and yet Abby is like there weak after being starved and beaten and God knows what else.
Ellie hadn't been through much meeting trying to find Abby at that point. She'd been through so much getting to Abby at that point. I think James, you're absolutely right. I've got no problem with the story continuing, right? I've got no problem with some of the scenes in this game. In fact, the scene with Ellie and Joel on the porch was one of the best in the game, right? And it was certainly one of the most emotional. I think, had they not just repeated the fight and show mercy at last minute, like they did with Abby, if they'd have done it in a different way to get that point across, which I do think is an important point, I think it would have been way more impactful. And because of that, because they mirrored the fight that they did before, it kind of made me go, okay. It's lost that effect for me. It's lost that punch for me that I needed at the end. Like what, as I said on the main podcast, the ending to the first game was so perfectly done, and I've gone back and watched it again. It's like, it's one of my favourite endings to a game, and I was hoping that this would get somewhere near that, but because it was that, hey, here's Abby fighting Ellie, Abby nearly kills someone and then shows mercy at the very last second, and then we fast forward a couple of hours, here's Ellie killing Abby. She can kill someone very easily, but she shows mercy at the last minute. I was kind of like, okay, that's just, that repetition lost the impact for me.
But the context is different. I think you might have misheard me earlier. I said Ellie had gone through absolutely loads to get Abby. But at that point, Abby is totally different. She's not like, the machine she built herself up to get Ellie first time. Now she's like weakened. She's been on this God knows what's happened to her and Levelite in bits, and it's just Ellie could absolutely do it. And I think actually the second fight is so impactful because it's, because Abby clearly could have ended the first one. Now it's Ellie's chance, but Abby's in such a different place. And you care so much for Abby as a player at that point as well, because you've done so much with her.
You did before. I don't see how it's a completely different context. I think.
Well, no, but I think.
Dave, I think what you're missing here is it's like poetry. It rhymes.
That's what I'm thinking, James. I just felt that whole scene when they finally met was so impactful, was so important, and felt brilliant. And I completely understand your point, James. And yeah, you're right. They do need to make that point. But because it had the same outcome as the last fight, it was kind of like, okay.
Well, it didn't have the same outcome at all. It didn't.
It had exactly the same outcome, Matt.
Well, no, the same outcome would be Abby win the fight, and this is Ellie's chance to end it.
No,
she chose not to.
It had the same outcome, but with the roles reversed. That's all it was.
But I don't see
nearly killing someone and showing mercy in the last second. That was what it was.
Well, I think but Abby showed mercy because she realised she had something else to live for. Ellie showed mercy because she realised it wasn't going to bring Joel back, and it wasn't going to bring her happiness. Like there's different reasons for each of them showing mercy, and I think
they can still get those points across though without having character nearly kill someone. Then they don't.
So do you think it would be better if this fight ended where Ellie had killed Abby, or this fight didn't happen at all?
I think it would have been an interesting message to show that Ellie had completely gone. I thought that was where it was going when Ellie held the knife to Lev's neck. I thought, they're confirming that Ellie is now a monster, and that there is no saving her, right? And I thought that's interesting. Not totally on board with it, but I think it's fucking interesting. But I think James's suggestion that she discovers that Abby was killed or died on the stake, and having that realization that this is all ultimately pointless, which is kind of a sort of theme that they've run throughout the game.
I would have hated that.
Why?
I mean, it would have been so bleak, and yet, yes, it's about the story of the cycle of revenge, and ultimately it's all pointless. But I think we know that from all the actions we've seen, experienced, and played over the game. But for you to do all that, and then she's just dead before you even get there, or when you get there, it's like I think I wouldn't be on board with that at all.
It makes the same point in a more impactful way.
No. I think this does because Ellie could have done it, but she didn't. I think there's more. I think there's more impact in the fact that she had the power to end it, but she didn't.
And I suppose it would have had that impact had we not had exactly the same thing with Abby.
Well, I think it was.
She could have ended it, and she didn't.
Exactly, and that's why I think the second fight is not only needed, but actually is more impactful for me. And that scene with Ellie covered in blood, and I think maybe it's when she's crying, so maybe at that point she might have stopped drowning Abby. That is an amazing scene. I've wanted to post that on social, but obviously you can't because of spoilers. But that is just it looks stunning. I mean, not just how good the couch models look, but she's gone through so much, and when she just sits there holding her broken fingers saying get out or whatever she says, and then Abby sort of crawls away and gets on the boat with Lev. It's that is just stunning. I mean, I think I love the ending of the first Last of Us, but I feel like
don't say
the end. I'm gonna say I feel like the ending is just compacted into one moment. I feel like this built the ending, or feels like the end has been built up or building up, and I feel like it's a longer, more prolonged ending with all the bits, whereas it's a bigger bang at the end of the first one. So, but I think I prefer the second one because of the impact built up over that length of time and all the stuff.
No, I think you're mad. The ending to that first game is miles better. Look, don't get me wrong. I don't hate the ending here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I feel that it lacked the impact that I wanted to get from the end of this game. That's the only way I can describe my feelings towards it.
It felt more impactful for me, but just stunning. Just just absolutely stunning. I mean, we sort of skipped the bit where Ellie is leaving, and then Dina catches her in the morning, and I was screaming at TV saying like, no, do not go, do not go, do not go. And it's rare that games really get me to do that, but I feel like I did that loads in this game. I'm like, no, Ellie, you don't have to leave and do this. I was actually talking to a TV, shouting her because she had such a perfect life with Dina.
That's it. I mean, it did ham up that a little bit as well. I liked that scene, and I wouldn't want it to change, but it did ham it up a little bit. Oh, they're dancing in the kitchen to music and holding a baby and all this stuff, but she's still gonna go. I was like, okay. You're blatantly going, yeah, look at what she could have had. It's like bullseye or something.
yeah, but at that point, I didn't know she was going to go because I thought, okay, to go.
Oh, we knew she was going to go. I
thought that was the last few scenes of the game, and then when they carry on, I was like, oh shit, okay.
I don't know.
She's going to hang up her shotgun and just not going to do it.
But do you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying, James?
I can see what you're saying.
It's not that I thought it was a bad ending. It's not that I thought that they should have ended those character arcs in different ways. It's just that
it's just the execution of
the
final few scenes.
Yeah, it's the repetition that sort of made me feel that it lost the impact that I really, really wanted from the end of this game. Because I mean, ultimately, looking at this game as a whole, what it does is pretty incredible. You go into the game thinking, you're going to see these characters. You're going to see Joel and Ellie. You're going to control Ellie. Ellie's going to be the character you're rooting for, and it flips it on its head. And we've seen games like that before, where the person you think is great is actually a bit of an arsehole. We've seen games do that before, but not as well executed as this. Like okay, there will be people turning their nose up saying it is a little bit sort of emotionally playing you. It's doing things that it knows that it's going to later on go, bad, isn't it? It is doing that stuff. But at no point did it feel ridiculous to me. It felt all...
No, I'd rather games tried this. And tried this sort of thing rather than and didn't try at all.
Yeah, I mean, to think that Abby you looked at with such disdain and anger at the start of the game to going on to, I mean, I preferred her to Ellie by the end of the game 100%. Which is wonderful.
I thought her arc was better. She was less of a willing party than Ellie was. I thought Abby was a fantastic character, and like the fact she lives and Lev lives. If they do a part 3 with like potentially, Lev and Abby very much in the sort of, the Joel and Ellie role, with Abby as like a, mother figure to Lev.
I don't know.
Potentially.
I'd rather they didn't do that because it would just feel a bit like a retread. Do you know what I mean? I'd hope that they would do something different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I didn't want it to be a part 2.
Yeah, we said that about the first game.
Part 1 was, the first one was like amazing. Okay, what an amazing ending. End it there. That's it. We're done. When they announced part 2, I was like, I'm not sure I want a sequel to one of my favorite games of all time because that was so perfectly done. And I also, at this point, do I want to do another one? I'm sure it'll be amazing, but I'm like, okay, you've done another one and it is incredible, but let's not push it and then potentially ruin it. I don't know. I think these 2 games are amazing. The first one is one of my all-time favorite games. This one I think improves it on every element. I mean, I'm thinking since I finished this could be my favorite game of all time. All the stuff it does, it's just, and even with its like issues with like that hospital boss and improvements that could be made, like the stuff it does in terms of narrative and characters and action, and it's just absolutely stunning. I think I said to you, James, or you said to me, this feels like you've just watched and experienced an amazing series of TV.
Yeah,
and like it really is that. I mean, I'm still thinking about it now. I'm still sort of dumbfounded how good it is. I'm thinking about doing like a new game plus, but it's just stunning in every way, shape, or form. I hope more games do this. I can't wait to play more games that really impact me emotionally like this game did. I was shouting, wanting the characters to do one thing or the other, being surprised and shocked, and it's just absolutely stunning game.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean they've knocked it out of the park. I do think it is a better overall game than the first game for sure. Yeah, I just that's my feeling towards the end. But it hasn't got to the point where I'm going, they ruined it. This has ruined everything, because clearly, I mean, as you would have been able to tell throughout this whole spoiler cast, there's so many moments in this game that are just so fucking good that, yeah, I mean, it's an absolute stunner. But yeah,
It really is. And it's amazing to actually finally talk about it rather than having to talk around it and not.
Yeah.
That's the same. Like, obviously, on the main show, because of spoiler stuff, we can't go into how much we love it and why we love it, and we couldn't even name characters because spoilers, let alone locations and what actually happens in the plot. But to finally say, talk about Lev and Lara and Abby, I had no idea I'd be playing as someone else for half the game, someone totally unknown, and that was a massive surprise. So it's been great to talk to you
and to go on
to finally actually say these things out loud.
I will say this though, right? A little bit disappointed with how they handled Uncharted in this game. Do you remember Uncharted was supposed to be set in the same universe, but we find PS3s with Uncharted.
A lot of dusty PS3s, don't you?
Yeah.
I wish they hadn't done that, because I found the ring at one point,
yeah.
which was really cool.
Yeah.
You messaged
that
me,
was
didn't
such
you?
a cool moment. You're like, oh, this is the same universe, and then it's like, oh no, there's all these
if you
PS3s
remember in Uncharted
with,
3, there was newspaper scrappings that you found about an infection starting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man. But you know what? That's only little Easter egg stuff that's a bit funny, so who cares?
Yeah, because you messaged me, I think, saying, did you find the ring? I was like, I found the ring. It's like, I read it, but I didn't quite get it. But he's like, oh no, it's kind of Uncharted. I think because you said you'd only finished Uncharted 4 recently.
Yeah,
I
just done 4,
yeah. So you clocked it. And I was like, okay, well, I got that ring, but, So, it's lots of cool moments. I enjoyed picking up all the various trading cards and stuff. And yeah, what a game.
Cool.
Incredible.
And that's our spoiler cast. We hope you enjoyed that. Be sure to check out the main show if this is the first time you're hearing us. You can check us on wherever you found this. Search the Computer Game Show or go to tcgs.co. And or you can follow us on TCGS Co on Twitter as well. That'd be good. Hit us up on there. Tell us what you thought of this spoiler cast.
Yeah, we're at TCGSCO on everything: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it.
That's the one. That's the one. No TikTok though, Matt.
Not yet, no.
No, don't do that.
I mean, if you guys were offered in TikTok dances, I'll create an account.
James would do that. He could do his breakdancing.
Good point. Very good point.
We'll catch you later. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
If I don't wanna meet you.
Well, that didn't suck. 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 That didn't suck.